Tonight, we descend past the last reach of sunlight into water so still and so dark that the ocean floor has never once known morning. And we find, waiting there in that absolute quiet, something that should not exist at all. Light. Not borrowed light. Not reflected light. Light made by living things. From within, in cold water, in the dark. For reasons that took the ocean millions of years to invent, and that science is still, slowly, learning to read. Hello there, and welcome to Deep Sea Slumber. There is a depth in the ocean where sunlight simply ends. Not dims. Ends. The water above absorbs it. First the reds, then the oranges, then the yellows, until only blue remains, and then even that is gone. Below a certain point, there is no photon of sunlight anywhere. There has not been one for longer than human memory reaches. And yet, this is not an empty place. It is one of the most densely inhabited regions on Earth. Animals live here in numbers that stagger the imagination, moving through water that is cold and pressured and lightless, navigating a world where visibility, as we understand it, simply does not apply. And many of them glow. Not all. Not always. But so many, and in so many different ways, that scientists now believe bioluminescence, the production of light by a living body, may be the most common form of communication on this planet. Not language as we use it, not sound or gesture or expression, light, cold, chemical, living light, produced without heat, without fire, without any external source at all. This is what we have come to find tonight. We will move through the deep water slowly, the way things move here. We will meet animals whose bodies carry lanterns, whose skin pulses with blue fire, whose eyes are turned upward toward a darkness that is somehow still not entirely dark. We will find creatures that use light to disappear, and others that use it to announce themselves. We will discover that in a place with no sun, light has not lost its meaning. It has simply found new ones. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too. One sleepy soul at a time. Let your shoulders soften now. Let the weight of the day settle somewhere beneath you, the way sediment settles to the ocean floor. Slowly, without effort, finding its own rest. Breathe a little more slowly. Let the air come and go without any particular instruction. We are beginning to sink gently, the way the deep sea allows all things to sink. Without hurry, without resistance, carried by our own small gravity through layers of water that grow quieter the further down we go. Let's begin. Once light exists in darkness, it does not remain a single invention for long. Some animals evolved to glow in order to hide. Some glow to signal. Some glow to confuse, or to find a mate, or simply because the chemistry of their bodies makes darkness into something else. But one animal took light and did something different with it, something almost architectural. It grew a lamp, not borrowed, not reflected. Grown from the body itself, extending upward and forward on a modified spine, a thin curved rod of tissue tipped with a small swollen structure that produces a glow in the total dark of the deep ocean. A fishing rod, a lantern, a patient, suspended light held out into water where almost nothing is free. The anglerfish carries it the way a thought is held, quietly, at a slight distance from the rest of itself. The structure at the tip of the lure is called the esker. It is a small, fleshy bulb, and inside it live bacteria. Not bacteria the anglerfish hunts or eats or encounters by chance. Bacteria it cultivates. The relationship is ancient and specific, and it begins when the anglerfish is very young, when specialized pores in the esker open and allow certain luminescent bacteria to enter. Once inside, they stay. They divide. They produce light through the same chemical process found throughout the deep ocean. Luciferin and luciferase combining in the presence of oxygen, releasing energy not as heat, but as cold blue-green light. The anglerfish cannot make this light on its own. The bacteria cannot survive as freely as they might elsewhere. What exists between them is a kind of arrangement. The anglerfish provides shelter and the bacteria provide illumination. Two living things, each making the other more possible. That is worth holding for a moment. The anglerfish does not glow. The anglerfish hosts glowing. There is a difference, and it matters. The light that hangs before its mouth is not entirely its own. It is shared, the way many things in the deep sea are shared, out of necessity, out of proximity, out of the slow logic of two organisms, finding that together they can do something neither could do alone. The anglerfish controls the light in ways scientists are still working to understand. Some species can dim it or brighten it. Some may be able to pulse it. The esker itself often has additional features: filaments, trailing threads, small protrusions that give it texture and movement, so that in the water column it does not look simply like a point of light, but like something living, something small and interesting, something worth approaching. This is the patience at the center of the anglerfish's life. It does not chase, it waits. The light moves gently in the current or is twitched by small muscular adjustments, and whatever comes toward it, whatever small fish or crustacean follows the glow toward what it cannot know, is a mouth, finds the mouth very quickly after. The jaws open fast. The teeth are long and curved inward so that what enters cannot easily leave. And then the anglerfish returns to stillness. Lamp forward, body still, waiting again. In the deep sea, energy is a currency that cannot be spent carelessly. There is no sunlight to drive the production of food. What arrives from above, marine snow, the slow drift of particles and fragments from the surface world, is never enough to sustain a life of constant movement. Animals here have solved this problem in different ways. Some migrate, some scavenge, some filter. The anglerfish's solution is elegant in its simplicity. It moves as little as possible, and it lets the light do the work. This is not laziness. It is engineering. A body that hunts through stillness requires very little fuel between meals. A lure that does the attracting means the anglerfish does not need the speed of a pursuit predator, the stamina of a chaser, the complex musculature of something that lunges through open water. It can be dense and heavy and ungainly in shape because it never needs to be fast. It only needs to be present and patient and lit. The body of a female anglerfish, and it is almost always the female we picture when we picture an anglerfish, for reasons that will become clear, is round and somewhat compressed, wider than it is tall in many species. The mouth is enormous relative to the body, lined with those curved teeth, and the stomach is capable of stretching to accommodate prey larger than the anglerfish itself. This matters because meals in the deep sea are not predictable. When one arrives, whatever size it happens to be, it cannot be wasted. The whole animal is a study in economy. Nothing extra, nothing decorative. Every structure serves something. The lure is a tool. The jaws are a tool. The expandable stomach is a tool. Even the darkness itself is a tool. a medium the anglerfish has learned to use, the way a craftsperson learns the particular quality of the material they work with and lets that quality guide the work. The males are a different story entirely. Male anglerfish are small. Depending on the species, they may be only a few centimeters long, dwarfed by females who can be many times their size. They look almost nothing like the females. They have no lure. They have no elaborate jaws. They have large eyes and a well-developed sense of smell, and these are their primary tools, because their purpose from the moment they are born is to find a female in the dark. The deep ocean is a very large place. The darkness is very complete. Finding another member of your own species, of the opposite sex, without the aid of landmarks or light or any of the navigational tools most animals rely on is a problem with very few solutions. The male anglerfish solves it through smell. Females release pheromones, chemical signals that diffuse through the water. And the male follows the gradient, swimming toward the increasing concentration of the signal, through water that offers him nothing else to orient by. When he finds the female, he bites her, not aggressively, not in competition. He bites into her skin with his small jaw, and then something remarkable happens. Their tissues begin to fuse. Their circulatory systems connect. The male's eyes and organs begin to atrophy, to reduce, to simplify, to give up the complexity they no longer need. He becomes, over time, not a separate animal attached to the female, but something closer to a part of her, a small protrusion on her body that provides sperm and receives nourishment directly through shed blood. Some females carry multiple males this way. Each one arrived alone, found her in the dark, and chose permanence over independence. There is a version of this story that sounds strange, even unsettling when told quickly. But sitting with it longer, in the dark, in the deep context of a world shaped entirely by scarcity, it becomes something else. It becomes a solution to an almost impossible problem. Two animals separated by darkness and distance, each shaped by evolution to play a single necessary role. The female carries the light and the patience and the capacity to feed. The male carries the ability to find and to stay. Together, they are something neither is alone. The deep sea does not reward extravagance, it rewards sufficiency. What looks strange from the surface is, at depth, a kind of elegance. Imagine the lure from below, not from outside, observing, but from the perspective of something small, moving through water that is very dark and very cold, following whatever faint pressure changes and chemical traces the water carries. And then, a light, a small, warm, steady glow, faintly pulsing or drifting at a distance that feels approachable, not blinding, not alarming, simply present, the way a lamp in a window is present, something to move toward. The anglerfish is very still. Its body is dark, brown or black or mottled in ways that absorb whatever faint ambient light exists. Only the esker glows. Only the tip of the rod, the small bacterial lantern, produces light. Everything else is absence. Everything else is the darkness that makes the light possible by contrast. This is the scene the anglerfish creates every day in water where no sun has ever reached. A single point of light in absolute dark, a waiting mouth behind it, a patience that is not tense or coiled but genuinely still, the stillness of an animal that has no reason to move until the moment arrives, and then moves very quickly, and then is still again. The water around it is cold enough to slow most biological processes to a crawl. The pressure at these depths, sometimes 1,000 meters down, sometimes more, would be crushing to a surface animal. But the anglerfish is built for it, its tissues equilibrated to a world that presses from every direction. It does not feel the pressure the way a visitor would. It is the pressure, in a sense. It belongs to it. And in that belonging, in that perfect attunement to a world that seems hostile from the outside, there is something that functions like ease. The anglerfish is not struggling. It is not enduring. It is doing precisely what it is made to do, in precisely the place it is made to do it, and the light hangs before it like a small extension of its own stillness into the dark. The bacteria in the esker continue to glow regardless of whether prey is near. They glow because that is what they do. The chemical reaction runs continuously as long as oxygen is available and the conditions inside the esker remain suitable. The anglerfish does not switch the light on when something approaches. The light is simply always there, a constant quiet offering to whatever the darkness sends. There is something in this that takes a moment to settle. The anglerfish is not strategic in the way we might imagine a patient predator to be. It is not waiting with focused intention. It is simply present with a light in a place where presence and light are enough. The strategy is in the body plan, in the millions of years of selection that shaped a creature capable of this, not in any moment-to-moment calculation. The anglerfish does not think about patience. It simply is patient, the way a stone in a riverbed is patient, not by effort, but by nature. The lure sways, the current moves through it, the bacteria glow, and somewhere in the dark water beyond the esker's reach, something small turns toward the light. Not all anglerfish live in the deepest trenches. Some species inhabit the mesopelagic zone, the twilight layer where sunlight still arrives as a faint blue haze during the day. Others descend into the bathypelagic, the true dark zone, where no sunlight penetrates at any hour. The species vary considerably. There are more than 200 species of anglerfish in the world, spread across many different deep and mid-water environments, and their lures vary in shape and complexity. Some are simple, some are elaborate, trailing multiple filaments, or shaped in ways that mimic small invertebrates. Each is a variation on the same idea, refined by different pressures in different depths. What they share is the lamp. What they share is the patience. What they share is the fundamental logic of a body built to spend as little energy as possible, while the light does the difficult work of searching. There are anglerfish that have been observed hovering almost completely motionless for extended periods, the lure held at just the right angle, the body neutrally buoyant in the water column. They do not rest on the seafloor. They do not swim in patterns. They hang in open water as though suspended, which in a sense they are, held by the balance between their body density and the water's pressure, requiring only the smallest adjustments to stay in place. This is a kind of stillness that is hard to picture from the surface world, where even resting animals shift and breathe visibly and respond to the sounds and movements around them. The anglerfish's stillness is deeper than that. It is the stillness of an animal for whom motion is a cost, and stillness is the default, and only the light moves. Only the small bacterial glow at the tip of the esker, drifting in whatever slow current the deep water carries. What does the anglerfish's existence mean in the larger story of a world lit by living things? The opening of this video described bioluminescence as light that becomes language, camouflage, misdirection, courtship, warning, presence. The anglerfish's light is a kind of lie, a mimicry, a signal that says, "Come here," and means something else entirely. And yet, calling it a lie feels too sharp, too human. The anglerfish does not know it is deceiving. It only knows, in the wordless, instinctual way that animals know things, that the light works. That presence and patience and a small glow in absolute darkness is enough to bring the world to it. There is a quality to that which goes beyond predation. It becomes almost a principle. In a world where resources are scarce and movement is expensive, the most sustainable strategy may not be pursuit, but invitation. Not going out to find, but creating the conditions in which what is needed comes. The anglerfish does not conquer the dark. It uses it. It makes the dark into a context in which a small light becomes irresistible. And then it waits inside that context, with a patience that is less a virtue than a physical fact. The lure is extended like a thought into the water, like a question offered to the dark, quietly, without urgency, knowing that the dark will eventually answer. The females can live for decades, some researchers believe. The deep ocean's cold temperatures slow metabolism, slow aging, slow everything. A large female anglerfish may have been hanging in the dark water for many years, her lure glowing steadily the whole time, her body adding weight and size very slowly, her stomach stretching and contracting with the irregular rhythm of meals that come when they come and cannot be predicted or hurried. The males fused to her body have lost their independence so gradually that there is no single moment at which they stopped being separate. They became part of her the way a tributary becomes part of a river, not suddenly, but through a process of gradual joining until the distinction no longer holds. And through all of it, the light continues. The bacteria divide and glow and divide again. The esker sways in cold water. The anglerfish waits with the particular patience of something that has never needed to be anywhere other than where it is. The deep ocean is full of remarkable strategies. Animals that migrate thousands of meters each night. Animals that turn red to become invisible. Animals that spray glowing clouds to confuse predators. The anglerfish does none of these things. It does almost nothing except hang in darkness with a light and wait. And somehow, that is enough. Let that settle into something quieter now. The anglerfish does not know it is remarkable. It does not know that its lure is a kind of wonder, that the bacterial partnership it maintains is one of the more unusual arrangements in the ocean, that its patience reads to us as something almost philosophical. It knows the dark. It knows the glow at the end of its rod. It knows the sudden closing of its mouth, and then the stillness that follows. That is its whole world. A lamp, a wait, a meal that arrives without being chased. There is something restful in that, in a creature so completely suited to its place that nothing is wasted, nothing is strained, nothing needs to be other than what it is. The anglerfish does not wish for more light. It does not wish for shallower water. It has arranged itself across millions of years of small adjustments into a form that fits its world so precisely that the world itself seems to hold it gently. The esker glows. The water is very still. The anglerfish is patient in a way that does not require effort. Somewhere in the deep, the light continues, steady, small, sufficient. It will be there long after the thought of it has drifted away. From a solitary lamp, the story widens into constellations. The anglerfish waits alone. It has always waited alone. But there are animals in the same dark ocean that do the opposite. Animals that move in numbers so large, the ocean itself seems to breathe around them. Animals so numerous that if you were to gather them all, they would outweigh nearly every other vertebrate on the planet combined. Small animals, quiet animals, animals most people have never thought about at all. They are called lanternfish, and tonight, somewhere between the surface and the deep, billions of them are moving. The name is accurate in the most literal way. Along the belly, the sides, the head, and sometimes the tail of a lanternfish, there are small organs called photophores. Each one is a tiny light-producing structure, round and precise, arranged in rows and clusters that differ from species to species. They do not glow continuously the way a lamp does. They produce cold blue-green light through the same basic chemistry that runs through much of the bioluminescent world. Luciferin and luciferase, a reaction that releases light without releasing heat. The body does not burn. It simply illuminates gently in patterns that are as specific as a signature. There are roughly 250 known species of lanternfish. Each species carries its photophores in a slightly different arrangement. The number of lights, their placement, their spacing, these vary in ways that are consistent within a species and distinct between them. What that means is that the pattern of lights on a lanternfish's body is something close to an identity. A lanternfish in dark water, surrounded by other lanternfish, can be told apart, not by color or size alone, but by the precise geometry of its glow. That is worth pausing over. In a world without landmarks, without sunlight, without the visual clarity that most animals on land rely on, in that world, a small fish has developed something like a name written in light along its own body. Not a name it chose, not a name it knows it carries, but a pattern that distinguishes it, that marks it as belonging to its kind, that may allow others of its species to find it and move with it in the dark. The deep mid-water is a strange place to try to understand. It is not the seafloor with its sediment and pressure and stillness. It is not the surface with its sunlight and turbulence and warmth. It is the space between, a vast, dim, featureless column of water that extends for hundreds of meters in every direction, where up and down are often more informative than any horizontal direction could be. There are no walls, no corners, no fixed points except the faint gradient of light above and the increasing darkness below. In a place like that, orientation is everything. Lanternfish live in this space. They are mesopelagic animals, meaning they occupy the middle layers of the ocean, roughly from 200 to 1,000 meters down, though many spend parts of their lives at different depths depending on the time of day. Their eyes are large relative to their bodies, oriented partly upward, shaped to gather whatever faint residual light filters down from above. Their bodies are small, most species reaching only a few centimeters in length. They are silver-sided, soft, and delicate in the way that many mid-water animals are, built for a life where the costs of any unnecessary structure are simply too high to bear. What makes this environment particularly demanding is not just the dark, it is the absence of reference. A lanternfish moving through open water has no surface to press against, no substrate to orient by, no current that reliably points in any one direction. What it has is the faint vertical gradient of light, brighter above, darker below, and the signals of its own kind moving around it. In that context, a pattern of photophores along the body becomes more than decoration. It becomes information. It becomes the only kind of landmark the water offers. There is a behavior so large in scale that it almost defies description, and yet it happens every night, in every ocean basin, in water that no human eye will ever directly observe. At dusk, lanternfish rise. They spend the daylight hours in deeper water, where the darkness offers some protection from predators that hunt by sight. But as the light at the surface fades, as the twilight zone above them softens and dims, they begin to ascend. Not quickly, not in a rush. They move upward through the water column in a gradual drift, drawn toward the surface layers where plankton and small crustaceans concentrate. They feed through the night in shallower water, in the relative darkness that protects them even there. And then, as dawn approaches, they descend again, slowly, patiently, back into the deeper dim where the daylight cannot easily reach them. This is called diel vertical migration, and lanternfish perform it on a scale that is almost impossible to hold in the mind at once. Billions of individual animals, rising and sinking in rough synchrony with the light, moving hundreds of meters each way, every night, across every ocean. The total biomass involved is staggering. The collective displacement of water, the collective consumption of surface plankton, the collective transport of organic matter downward. These are not trivial events. They are planetary in scale. They connect the sunlit surface to the cold, dark depths in a living chain that moves every single night. Imagine standing at the surface of the ocean on a calm night and knowing that beneath you, right now, a slow upward tide of small glowing bodies is approaching. Not visible, not audible, but present in numbers that exceed almost every other vertebrate gathering on Earth. Then imagine that same tide reversing at dawn, sinking back into the dark, carrying within each small body the carbon and energy absorbed from surface feeding, transporting it downward where it will eventually be released and processed and drawn into the slow chemistry of the deep. That is the biological pump, and lanternfish are among its most significant engines. The idea of camouflage usually calls to mind hiding against a background, matching the color of sand or bark or coral. But in the midwater, there is no background. There is only open water in every direction and the faint ambient light that filters down from above. For a predator looking up from below, any animal swimming above it appears as a silhouette against that faint brightness. The animal's body blocks the light. It becomes visible not by color, but by shadow, a dark shape against a pale ceiling. Lanternfish have photophores along their undersides, and the current thinking, supported by observation, though the deep sea keeps many of its secrets, is that these ventral lights may serve a function called counter-illumination. By producing light from below, the fish may be able to match the brightness of the faint illumination coming from above. Its underside glows at roughly the same intensity as the dim sky above it. To a predator looking up, the silhouette softens. The fish becomes harder to distinguish from the ambient glow. It does not disappear entirely, but it becomes less decidable, less certain, less worth the energy of a strike. Light here is not a signal sent outward. It is a silence maintained downward. That distinction carries something worth sitting with. The same biology that might allow a lanternfish to be recognized by its own kind. The same photophores, the same cold chemical glow, may also allow it to become less visible to those hunting it from below. The lights serve two purposes at once, or perhaps more than two. They are identification and camouflage simultaneously. A pattern that says here, "I am" to some, and says nothing at all to others. In other words, the same light can be language or silence, depending on who is listening. The photophores of lanternfish are not uniform in their brightness. They can be modulated, adjusted, in response to changes in ambient light. When the water above grows brighter, the ventral photophores may brighten to compensate. When the water darkens, they may dim. The matching is not perfect. The deep sea rarely offers perfection. But the adjustment is real, and it suggests a sensitivity to light that seems counterintuitive in an animal that spends its days in near total darkness. Yet that sensitivity makes sense when you consider the life they lead. Lanternfish are not creatures of the abyss. They are creatures of the gradient. They live in the zone where light is always changing, where the difference between 100 meters and 200 meters is the difference between dim and darker, between visible and almost invisible. Their whole existence is calibrated to that gradient. Their eyes read it. Their photophores respond to it. Their migrations are timed by it. They are animals made of thresholds. Every day they cross from one quality of darkness into another. Every night they reverse the crossing. And the biology of their light is tuned precisely to that movement, not to the absolute dark of the deepest ocean, but to the shifting twilight of the in-between. There is a sonar phenomenon that puzzled naval researchers for years, during and after the Second World War. When they sent sound pulses down into the ocean, the signals returned not from the seafloor, but from somewhere in the middle of the water column. A layer, a false bottom. Something dense enough to reflect sound, hundreds of meters above the actual seafloor. They called it the deep scattering layer because it scattered their sonar signals back up at them in a way that seemed to come from solid ground. It was not solid ground. It was fish. Lanternfish, along with other mesopelagic animals, gather in concentrations dense enough that their bodies collectively reflect sound. The layer moves. It rises at night and descends during the day, tracking the same vertical migration that the fish themselves perform. It is visible on sonar as a shifting, living stratum, a false floor that breathes with the light. For years, scientists puzzled over what it was. Once they understood, the scale of what they were seeing became clear. The deep scattering layer is one of the largest animal gatherings on Earth, occurring simultaneously across every ocean basin, every night without interruption. It has been doing this, in some form, for millions of years. It was there before the ships that detected it. It will be there long after, and it is made of small, soft, glowing fish that most people cannot name. A single lanternfish lives a short life. Most species live 1 to 3 years, brief even by the standards of small fish. They reproduce, often in large numbers, and die. Their bodies sink. The carbon and energy stored in their tissues travels downward into the deeper water, where it joins the slow rain of organic matter that sustains life at depth. Even in death, they are part of the transport. Even in death, they are moving material between the surface and the dark. That is a kind of continuity that goes beyond the individual animal. The lanternfish as a species is not the sum of any one fish's life. It is the pattern, the rhythm of rising and sinking, the nightly migration, the slow exchange between layers. sustained across generations so numerous, they become something more like a process than a population, more like weather than wildlife. And yet, each fish is itself. Each one carries its photophores in their precise arrangement. Each one navigates the gradient with its own upward tilted eyes. Each one makes the crossing, night after night, for whatever brief span of time it has. What does it mean that an animal so small and so overlooked is doing work this large? The lanternfish does not know it is essential. It does not know that its nightly migration helps regulate carbon in the deep sea, or that without it, the chemistry of the ocean would be measurably different. It does not know that its photophores are a kind of writing that other lanternfish read without knowing they are reading. It does not know that it is one of the most abundant vertebrates alive, that its species collectively outweigh the human population in biomass, that its existence is woven into the functioning of the planet's largest ecosystem. It knows the gradient. It knows the dark. It knows the faint pressure of water moving around it, the presence of others nearby, the slow pull of depth when the light above begins to grow. That is enough. That is, in fact, everything. There is something in that which resists easy summary. The lanternfish is not small in the way we usually mean when we call something small. Inconsequential, peripheral, easy to overlook. It is small in body and vast in effect. It is quiet in its individual life and enormous in its collective one. It is, in some sense, proof that significance does not require visibility, that the most important movements in a system are often the ones no one watches. The deep ocean is full of animals like this. Animals doing work that the surface world depends on, in darkness, in silence, at scales that only become legible when you step back far enough to see the whole. There are nights when the water at the surface of the ocean seems to glow faintly blue. Sailors have noticed this for centuries. Bioluminescent plankton, usually. Tiny organisms disturbed by the movement of a hull, or a wave, or the passing of a large body. But sometimes the glow is deeper. Sometimes it comes from below the surface layer, from the mid-water, from the zone where the lanternfish are ascending. It is not visible to the naked eye from above. The water is too deep, the light too diffuse, too scattered by the water itself before it can reach the surface. But it is there. Billions of small cold lights rising through the dark, close enough to the surface by midnight that they are practically neighbors to the air above. A highway of blue fire moving upward in the dark. Not dramatic, not loud, not something you could see from a ship or ashore or anywhere above the water at all. Just present, just happening, just part of the night that the ocean keeps entirely to itself. The lanternfish will descend before dawn. They will sink back into the deeper water, their photophores still faintly lit, their eyes still tilted upward toward a surface growing distant above them. They will settle into the dim layer where they spent the previous day, and they will rest, if rest is the right word for what a fish does in open water with no surface to lean against and no bottom to settle onto. They will slow, they will drift, they will hold their position in the gradient, and the ocean around them will be quiet again, in the way the deep ocean is always quiet. Not silent exactly, but removed from the kind of noise that the surface world produces. The pressure there is its own kind of weight, gentle and total. The temperature is steady, the light is gone. They will wait there for the next dusk, for the next crossing, for the next slow rise through the gradient toward the surface layers where the plankton wait. And then they will rise again, and then again. For however many nights remain in their brief lives, they will make that crossing, up and down, dark and less dark. The same migration their ancestors made, in the same ocean for tens of millions of years. There is a rhythm to that which the body recognizes, even from a great distance, even from a warm, dry room, far from any ocean. Something in us knows about rising and sinking, about the pull of darkness, about the return. Let the lanternfish descend now. Let them settle into their deeper layer, soft and still and very small, each one carrying its pattern of cold light into the quiet dark. The ocean does not end here. It simply grows quieter. The midwater gives way to deeper water, and in that deeper water, other animals are waiting. Animals with their own relationship to light, their own private uses for the dark. Some of them carry colors no one expects to find in a world built almost entirely of blue. And deeper in the dark, light becomes more selective, more secretive, more finely tuned. Most of what moves through the deep ocean travels in blue, not because blue is beautiful, though it is, but because blue is what survives. Red wavelengths are absorbed almost immediately when they enter water, stripped out within the first few meters of the surface. Orange follows, yellow fades, green dims. By the time you reach the midwater depths where dragonfish live, somewhere between 200 and 1,000 meters down, the world is built almost entirely from the narrow end of the spectrum. Blues and near blacks. The occasional cold flash of something bioluminescent. Nothing warm, nothing red. That is what makes the dragonfish so quietly remarkable. Because the dragonfish produces red light in a world that has, for all practical purposes, forgotten that red exists. The animal itself is not large. Most species of dragonfish measure somewhere between 6 inches and a foot in length, though a few grow longer. The body is slender and dark, almost eel-like in its proportions, with a large head that carries a jaw that seems to belong to something considerably more imposing. The teeth are long and transparent, arranged in rows that curve inward, and they are sized for an animal that cannot afford to lose a meal once it has one. In the deep sea, prey is scarce. Encounters are rare. When something comes close enough, the dragonfish does not let it pass. But it is not the teeth that deserve the most attention here. It is the chin. Hanging beneath the lower jaw, in many dragonfish species, there is a long filament called a barbel. It is thin, flexible, and tipped with a small bulb of tissue that produces light. Some barbels are short. Some are longer than the fish itself, trailing behind the animal like a slow thread through the water. Some have secondary branches along their length, each one also glowing, creating a structure that looks less like a fishing lure and more like something a person might make if they were trying to describe the idea of a luminous instrument in a dream. The barbel glows, it pulses in some species, it hangs in the water, patient and visible in the total darkness of the midwater zone. That is a familiar strategy by now. The anglerfish does something similar with its esker, the lure suspended above its head. The principle is the same. Light draws attention, attention draws prey, and the predator waits. But the dragonfish is doing something the anglerfish is not. The dragonfish is not only producing light from its chin, it is also producing light from beneath its eye. A small organ called a suborbital photophore, positioned just below the socket, angled forward and slightly outward. And the light it produces there is not blue, it is red. To understand what that means, it helps to think about what red light is in this context. Most deep-sea animals have eyes built for blue. Their photoreceptors, the cells that absorb light and convert it into signal, are tuned to the wavelengths that actually exist in their environment. This is sensible biology. You build what you need. You don't maintain expensive tissue for detecting a color that has vanished from your world. So the vast majority of deep-sea creatures are, for all functional purposes, red blind. Red light passes through their visual field the way silence passes through a room that has only ever known quiet. It is simply not registered. The dragonfish registers it. Certain dragonfish species, particularly those in the genus Malacosteus and a few close relatives, have evolved photoreceptors sensitive to red wavelengths. This is unusual enough on its own. But the deeper surprise is what it makes possible. If you can produce red light, and you can see red light and almost nothing else around you can do either of those things, then you have something close to a private channel, a secret frequency, a color that moves through the dark undetected by nearly everything that shares your depth. Imagine being able to shine a light that only you and your kind can see. Imagine moving through a world full of other creatures who are all watching carefully for any sign of illumination, because light means predator, or light means prey, or light means something worth attending to, and being able to illuminate your own surroundings without triggering any of those responses. You can see. You cannot be seen seeing. The light you carry is, to almost everything around you, simply not there. This is what the dragonfish appears to have. A searchlight that most of the ocean reads as darkness. The red suborbital photophore may function as a kind of private headlamp, allowing the dragonfish to illuminate potential prey at close range without alerting them. Copepods and small fish, the animals that dragonfish hunt, are likely unable to perceive the red wavelengths well enough to react. They do not flee. They do not freeze. They simply continue whatever they are doing, unaware that they are now visible, that something nearby has turned on a light and is watching them move. It is one of the quieter evolutionary subtleties in the deep ocean. Not strength, not speed, not size, a private color. How did this happen? That question is worth sitting with for a moment. Red sensitivity in deep-sea animals is vanishingly rare because the selective pressure to maintain it simply isn't there. If red light doesn't exist in your environment, there is nothing to drive the evolution of eyes that can detect it. The genes that would support red-sensitive photoreceptors tend to drift, to accumulate mutations, to stop working. This is the ordinary logic of biology. What is not useful tends to disappear over time. In some dragonfish, researchers have found a different mechanism. Rather than evolving entirely new photoreceptors from scratch, certain species appear to use chlorophyll-derived compounds, molecules originally produced by the photosynthetic organisms in the food chain above, as sensitizers. The animal takes something from its diet or from the diet of the things it eats and repurposes it to extend its own visual range. It is a kind of borrowed chemistry, a color sensitivity assembled partly from what the sun left behind, carried down through the food web and rebuilt inside a predator's eye. That is a strange and patient kind of ingenuity. The sun does not reach these depths, but something the sun made long ago at the surface, still faintly shapes what happens here. The dragonfish body carries other lights as well. Like the lanternfish, it has photophores arranged along its underside, small, regular, producing the blue-green light that is standard currency in the midwater world. These likely serve some of the same functions: counter-illumination, perhaps, or recognition among members of the same species. The dragonfish is not only a red light specialist, it operates across the full range of what bioluminescence can do down here, using different tools for different purposes. But those ventral photophores, useful as they are not what makes the dragonfish singular. What makes the dragonfish singular is the red, the hidden wavelength, the light that goes unnoticed. There is a species called Malacosteus niger, sometimes called the loose-jaw dragonfish, for reasons that become clear when you see one. The jaw of this animal does not close in the ordinary sense. The bones of the lower jaw have no floor between them, no membrane connecting them to the throat, which means the mouth can open at an extraordinary angle without the water resistance that would otherwise slow a strike. When the loose jaw opens to feed, it is not fighting against a pocket of trapped water. The water moves through. The jaw swings wide, and the teeth are simply there, suddenly, where the prey was. The loose jaw also produces red light. It is among the better studied examples of this private frequency strategy. To watch footage of Malacosteus niger, if you can find it, is to see an animal that looks almost assembled from separate ideas. The long, dark body, the enormous head, the jaw that seems too open, too architectural, too much like a diagram of a jaw rather than the thing itself, the chin barbel trailing below. And somewhere beneath the eye, invisible to most of the ocean, a small organ quietly shining red. It does not look like something that belongs in the world, and yet it is perfectly, precisely suited to the world it lives in. The barbel deserves more time. In many dragonfish species, the barbel is not simply a glowing tip on a flexible filament. It is a more elaborate structure, branched sometimes, or carrying multiple photophores along its length, or tipped with tissue that has a different color and quality of light than the filament itself. Some barbels have been described as resembling small crustaceans or other prey items, not just in their light output, but in their physical form. The dragonfish may not only be producing an attractive glow, it may be producing a reasonable facsimile of something edible. This is lure building with more detail than is strictly necessary if all you needed was a point of light. But detail may matter here. The animals dragonfish prey upon are not entirely without their own senses. They have eyes, most of them, however limited. They respond to shapes and movements as well as to light itself. A barbel that looks like food, moves like food, and glows like food is more effective than a barbel that only does one of those things. The dragonfish is patient in the way that the anglerfish is patient. It holds its position in the water. It lets the barbel drift. It waits for the gap between the prey's attention and the prey's survival instinct to open wide enough. And then the jaw swings. Deep-sea predation is rarely violent in the way surface predation can appear. There are no long chases here. The metabolic cost would be too high, the caloric return too uncertain. What the deep sea selects for again and again is efficiency, economy, the smallest possible expenditure of energy for the largest possible return. The dragonfish, with its transparent teeth and its private red light and its trailing barbel, is an expression of that economy. Every feature serves a purpose. The dark body is camouflage against the dim water above. The teeth are designed to hold rather than to cut. Prey is swallowed whole, not processed. The jaw architecture of the loose jaw removes one of the few physical obstacles to a fast, wide strike. The red light illuminates without alarming. The barbell attracts without revealing. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is decorative. And yet the animal, seen in the rare footage that exists of it alive in the water, has a quality that is hard to describe without reaching for a word like strange. Strange in the way that deep mathematics is strange, internally consistent, following rules you can learn to follow, but arriving somewhere your intuition did not prepare you for. There is a broader question underneath all of this, and it is worth letting it surface slowly. We tend to think of the deep ocean as a place of uniform darkness, a single condition, no light. And because we think of it that way, we tend to imagine the creatures there as equally undifferentiated in how they experience that darkness. They are all blind, we might assume, or all sensitive to the same narrow band of blue. They all live in the same night. The dragonfish suggests otherwise. The deep ocean is not one darkness. It is many darknesses, many spectrums, many partial and overlapping visual worlds occupying the same water at the same depth. There are animals that see blue and miss red. There are animals that see red and use that absence to their advantage. There are animals that see polarized light or ultraviolet wavelengths, or the plane of light reflected off a silvery scale at close range. The darkness is not simple. It is stratified and layered and full of distinctions that look from the outside like nothing at all. The dragonfish lives in one of those invisible layers. It carries its own spectrum through the water. It illuminates a version of the world that most of its neighbors cannot access. That is not just a survival strategy. It is a way of being differently present in the same place, occupying the same column of water as dozens of other species, but perceiving something none of them perceive. Moving through a world that is, for the dragonfish alone, slightly more visible than it is for everything else. Evolution does not plan. It does not decide that red light would be useful and then build toward it. What happens is quieter than that and stranger. A mutation occurs. An animal is slightly better at detecting a wavelength that barely exists in its environment. That tiny advantage, in some conditions, in some generations, in some particular configuration of predator and prey, turns out to matter. The animal survives slightly more often, reproduces slightly more successfully. The trait persists, accumulates, compounds over time into something that looks, from the outside, like a deliberate and elegant solution. It is not deliberate, but it is elegant. The dragonfish did not choose its private lantern. The private lantern chose the dragonfish, slowly, over an immense span of time, in the cold dark of the mid-water zone, one generation at a time. What the dragonfish adds to everything we have already seen tonight is a kind of deepening. The anglerfish showed us light as patience, the single lure suspended in the dark, waiting for something to come close enough. The lanternfish showed us light as community and rhythm. Billions of small bodies using their photophores to move together, to camouflage from below, to participate in a migration so vast it shifts the chemistry of the ocean itself. The dragonfish shows us something else. It shows us that light in the deep sea is not a single language. It is a collection of languages, and not all of them are shared. some are private, some are whispered, some are broadcast on a frequency that only one speaker and one listener can hear. Even in a world defined by its darkness, there are secrets within the dark. There are messages that pass unseen between sender and receiver, invisible to everything else in the water. There is a kind of communication, or a kind of hunting, which is its own kind of communication, that happens in a spectrum the rest of the ocean has forgotten. The dragonfish has not forgotten. It carries that spectrum in the small organ beneath its eye, and in the long filament trailing from its chin, and in the photoreceptors that let it read wavelengths that wash through its neighbors as nothing at all. There is something almost meditative about this, if you let it settle. The idea that the same space can hold multiple invisible worlds, that two animals can occupy the same water, the same depth, the same dim column of pressure and cold, and each be living in a perceptual reality the other cannot fully access. That what looks like uniform darkness from the outside is, from within, a place of distinction and specificity and quiet difference. This is true of the deep sea. It may be true of other things as well. But that is not a thought that needs to be chased tonight. Tonight, it is enough to know that somewhere in the mid-water dark, a long, thin body hangs nearly motionless. A barbel drifts below its jaw, tipped with light. And beneath one eye, a small organ shines red, quietly, privately, in a color the surrounding ocean does not speak. Nothing nearby knows it is there. The dragonfish knows. Let that image settle where it wants to settle. The dark water, the long body, the red light moving slowly through a world that cannot see it. There is no urgency in this image. There is only patience and precision, and the strange calm of an animal that has found its own frequency in the vast, dim ocean and learned to move through the world inside it. Your breathing has probably slowed a little by now, without your asking it to. That is its own kind of quiet. The dragonfish drifts. The barbel drifts. The red light goes on shining in the water, unseen by almost everything, seen only by the animal that made it, and the few who can read that particular color in the dark. Deeper still, other bodies are moving. Other lights are patterned differently, serving different purposes, telling different things to different eyes. The mid-water is full of these quiet signals, these private frequencies, these small illuminations that mean something precise to the animal producing them and pass as nothing to everything else. The ocean keeps its own counsel. It holds more than it reveals. And in the cold and patient dark, somewhere between the surface world and the seafloor, the dragonfish moves slowly on, carrying its hidden wavelength through water that does not know what it is missing, through a darkness that is, for this one animal, a little less dark than it appears. Not every light is meant to be noticed. Some are meant to make a body disappear. There is an animal in the mid-water layers, somewhere between the surface and the deep floor, in that vast, dim column where light from above has thinned to almost nothing, but has not yet vanished entirely, whose entire survival depends on a kind of visual argument, a negotiation with the physics of how light falls through water. It is small, it is silver, it is shaped almost perfectly, like something that should not be able to hide. The hatchetfish. Its name comes from its body. From the side, the silhouette is unmistakable. A deep, blade-like compression, the belly curving sharply downward, the whole form narrowed to an almost absurd thinness when seen from the front. It looks like something pressed flat under great weight, like a fish that has been reduced to its most essential cross-section. And in a way, that is exactly what it is. A body shaped by the specific geometry of its world, where what matters most is not how you look from the side, but how you look from below. That is where the danger comes from. Predators in the midwater often hunt by looking up. They position themselves below their prey and search for silhouettes against the faint residual light descending from the surface. A body moving overhead will appear as a shadow, a dark shape against a pale field, something to pursue. This is one of the deep sea's most elegant and ancient traps. The surface above is always a little brighter than the water below, and anything swimming through that gradient casts a shadow downward, readable as a target to anything patient enough to wait. The hatchetfish has an answer to this, and the answer is light. Along its belly, that deep curved underside, rows of photophores point downward. Not sideways, not upward. Down. Directly toward the eyes of anything looking up from below. And what these photophores produce is not a beacon, not a warning, not a signal meant to communicate anything to anyone. What they produce is a match. A careful, calibrated replication of the faint blue-green luminosity filtering down from the surface above. The word for this is counter-illumination, and it is one of the quieter marvels in a part of the ocean full of them. The idea is this: if you can make your belly glow at exactly the same brightness and color as the light coming from above, then from below you do not look like a shadow. You do not look like anything. You become continuous with the water around you. The contrast disappears. The silhouette dissolves. The predator below, looking up, sees not a fish, but a continuation of the dim, pale field above, and moves on. This is not camouflage in the way most people picture it. It is not hiding behind something or matching a surface, or staying very still in the hope of being overlooked. It is something more active and more strange. It is the production of light as erasure. The hatchetfish does not hide in darkness. It hides in its own glow. That inversion is worth sitting with for a moment. We tend to think of light as the thing that reveals, the thing that makes objects visible, that pulls them out of shadow and declares them present. And in most of the world we know, that is true. But in the mid-water, where the light itself is directionless and diffuse and always coming from above, light becomes something else. It becomes a tool for blending, for becoming undecidable, for making the eye of a predator find nothing where a body actually is. The hatchetfish does not glow to be seen. It glows to not be seen. And that reversal, light as a form of invisibility, is one of those ideas that, once understood, changes how the whole concept of bioluminescence feels. We have already seen light used as a lure, as a lantern, as a secret color in a world that cannot read it. Now we see it used as a kind of silence, a way of saying nothing, a way of becoming part of the background of the world, rather than standing out against it. It is not the loudest use of light in the deep sea, but it may be the most elegant. The photophores themselves are small and numerous. In some hatchetfish species, they number in the dozens along the ventral surface, the belly, arranged in careful rows and clusters that together produce a field of soft downward light. The light is predominantly blue-green, because that is the color that travels farthest in seawater, the color that dominates the dim glow filtering from the surface. The match is not perfect and constant, it adjusts. The hatchetfish can modulate the intensity of its photophores in response to the ambient light around it. Brighter above, brighter below, dimmer above, dimmer below. The animal is reading the water and responding moment to moment in a continuous calibration that it does not think about any more than you think about adjusting your pupils in changing light. The body does this. The body knows. There is something deeply restful in that idea. A system so refined and automatic that it requires no conscious effort, no deliberate decision. The hatchetfish does not monitor the brightness above and calculate the appropriate response. It simply is the appropriate response. The photophores and the ambient light and the body exist in a kind of ongoing conversation that happens below the level of intention, in the same quiet way that a sleeping body continues to breathe, continues to circulate, continues to maintain itself without asking anything of the mind. The eyes of the hatchetfish deserve their own attention. They are large, disproportionately large for the body, in the way that eyes often are in creatures adapted to dim conditions. More light gathered means more information available in an environment where information is scarce and precious. But the more striking feature is their orientation. Most of the hatchetfish's eyes point upward, not forward as in many predatory fish, not to the sides as in many prey species watching for danger. Upward, toward the faint residual light above. This is an eye designed to read the surface of the world from below. The hatchetfish is not only a prey animal trying to disappear, it is also a hunter. And it hunts by watching the silhouettes of things above it against the dim ceiling of light, the same dim ceiling that other predators use to spot hatchetfish themselves. The animal lives on both sides of this visual equation simultaneously. It is the prey that hides its own silhouette and the predator that reads the silhouettes of others. Looking up is survival in both directions. Some species of hatchetfish have eyes with a tubular structure, elongated upward in a way that concentrates their sensitivity into a narrow upward field. In very dim conditions, this design helps gather even the faintest traces of light. Other species have developed a reflective layer behind the retina, a tapetum that bounces light back through the photoreceptors a second time, squeezing more information from fewer photons. These are not crude adaptations. They are precise instruments, refined over long time in an environment where the margin between detecting something and missing it entirely can mean everything. What makes these eyes remarkable is not just what they can do, but what they say about how the hatchetfish experiences its world. For this animal, the primary axis of reality is vertical. Up is where the light comes from. Up is where the food can be found. Up is where danger originates and where opportunity appears. Down is dark. Down is where predators wait and scan. The horizontal plane, the plane most familiar to us, the plane along which we move through our days, is almost secondary. The hatchetfish lives in a world organized by depth and brightness, by the slow gradient from pale above to dark below, and its entire body is tuned to navigate that gradient. It is a different way of being in space, not better or worse, simply calibrated for a world where the most important direction is not forward but up. Now imagine the hatchetfish in motion, not swimming quickly. Hatchetfish are not built for speed. They move through the mid-water with small, deliberate fin movements, maintaining position in the water column with a gas-filled swim bladder that makes their depth adjustment largely effortless. They hover. They drift slightly. They make small corrections. The overall impression, if you could watch one from nearby in that dim water, would be of a very still animal suspended in a very large space. The silver sides of the body catch whatever light exists and scatter it diffusely, reducing the chance of a bright flash that might attract attention from the side. The compressed form, seen head-on, presents almost nothing. A sliver, an edge, barely there. The photophores below are doing their quiet work, matching the pale field above. The eyes are scanning upward through the dim column for the shadow of something smaller, something worth pursuing. And all around, at various distances, other hatchetfish are doing the same thing. They are not schooling in the tight, synchronized way of surface fish. They are distributed through the water column in loose aggregations, each one its own small system of sensors and lights and careful stillness, each one conducting its own ongoing negotiation with visibility. There are many species of hatchetfish, more than 40 spread across the world's tropical and subtropical oceans. They range in size from about 2 centimeters to roughly 12, which means that even the largest are still very small fish in a very large ocean. They are found in the mesopelagic zone, that twilight layer between roughly 200 and 1,000 meters depth, though they undertake their own version of the vertical migration we have already followed with the lanternfish, rising toward the surface at night to feed on the small crustaceans and zooplankton that themselves migrate upward after dark, then descending again as morning approaches. This rhythm, up at night, down by day, means that the hatchetfish spends different parts of its day in different light conditions. Near the surface after dark, there is almost no light at all, and the counter-illumination system becomes less critical. But as it descends in the morning, re-entering the mesopelagic zone where faint daylight still filters down from above, the photophores become essential again. The animal crosses a threshold where it becomes visible from below and must begin once more the careful work of matching what is above it. The transition must be gradual, automatic. The body adjusting to the changing brightness as it sinks, the photophores brightening or dimming in continuous response. There is no moment of decision. There is only the ongoing, unhurried calibration of a body that has been doing this for a very long time. Hatchetfish have been found in the fossil record going back tens of millions of years. The exact lineage is long, and the precise history is still being understood. But the form, that compressed, blade-like body, those upward eyes, that ventral row of photophores, is ancient. These are not recent innovations. They are solutions that were found early and kept because they work. That is worth a moment of quiet attention. Tens of millions of years of small silver fish, hanging in the mid-water, glowing softly downward, reading the light above, hunting and hiding simultaneously in the dim column between the surface and the floor. The ocean changed around them, continents moved, temperatures shifted, currents rearranged themselves over geological time, and the hatchetfish continued, in essentially this form, doing essentially this thing. Not because it is spectacular, not because it is the most dramatic solution the ocean has ever produced, but because it is quietly, completely right for the world it inhabits. There is a kind of animal that survives through force, through speed, or armor, or venom, or size. And then there is a kind of animal that survives through precision, through fitting so exactly into a niche, through being so exactly the right shape and brightness and behavior for a particular set of conditions that the world simply does not find a reason to eliminate it. The hatchetfish belongs to that second kind. It has not conquered its environment. It has become continuous with it. The counter-illumination of the hatchetfish is a form of belonging, a way of saying, I am not separate from this dim field of light. I am part of it. I am the same color, the same brightness, the same soft and directionless glow. I am the water. And so the predator below looks up and sees only water. That is the wonder at the center of this animal. Not that it glows. We have seen many things glow tonight, in many colors and for many reasons. But that it glows in order to become less present, in order to reduce itself to nothing in the eyes of the world below. It has taken the most visible thing, light itself, and turned it into a form of concealment. In the deep sea, we have already seen light used to attract, light used to communicate, light used to hunt in a private color that neighbors cannot read, and now light used to erase. The same chemistry, the same cold biological fire turned toward an entirely different purpose. Not declaration, not signal, not even deception in the conventional sense. Simply the careful matching of what is above so that what is below sees nothing at all. Bioluminescence, it turns out, is not one thing. It is a language with many registers, and the hatchetfish speaks the quietest one, the one that says nothing, the one that sounds exactly like the background of the world. There is something almost meditative in that. The idea of an animal that has refined itself toward invisibility. That has made its primary strategy not aggression or speed or armor, but the patient, continuous effort to be as close as possible to nothing, to reduce the signal it sends to the world until the signal and the silence are indistinguishable. The hatchetfish is not hiding. Hiding implies that there is a self that is being concealed, a presence that is being withheld. What the hatchetfish is doing is closer to dissolving, becoming, for the purposes of any eye looking upward, a continuation of what is already there. Not an animal, not a silhouette, not a shape, just the dim, soft, blue-green field of light that falls through all water at this depth, at this hour, in this part of the world. The body remains, the fins move, the eyes scan upward, the photophores do their slow, automatic work. But to the world below, there is nothing there. There is only the light. That is an extraordinary thing to be. Your breathing has probably slowed by now. The body does this on its own, without being asked. It finds the rhythm that matches the stillness around it. That is its own kind of calibration, not so different in its quiet way from the hatchetfish adjusting its glow to match the water above. The mid-water is very large. It holds an enormous volume of the ocean, that vast column between the surface we know and the floor we rarely reach. And through it, right now, small silver fish are hanging in the dark and the dim, glowing softly downward, reading the faint light above, continuing the ancient and patient work of becoming part of the world they move through. They do not know they are ancient. They do not know they are elegant. They do not know that the physics they embody, counter-illumination, the matching of ambient light, the careful calibration of brightness against brightness, is something that took evolutionary time to arrive at, and represents a solution that few other animals have found in quite this form. They only know the water, the faint glow above, the small crustacean moving across that dim ceiling, the slow descent back into the dark when the night begins to thin. That is their whole world, and in it they are not hidden, they are not present, they are simply, quietly, indistinguishable from the light. Let that settle. Let the image be soft and dim and without edges. A small silver body, barely there, suspended in water that is very still and very vast, and holds it without effort. The photophores glowing downward in a color that matches what is above. The eyes turned upward toward a ceiling of faint blue-green. The whole animal poised between seen and unseen, between present and dissolved, in the long, quiet column of the deep. Somewhere, right now, that is happening. And somewhere else, in water that is darker still, another kind of animal has made different choices, has found different answers to the same ancient questions of survival and presence, and how to move through a world where light itself is rare and strange and full of consequence. And sometimes the animals with the most dramatic names are the ones who have mastered gentleness best. The vampire squid's name arrived before anyone understood it well. The dark webbing between its arms, the red eyes, the cloak-like silhouette drifting through black water, these things suggested something predatory, something dramatic. The name was given in 1903, and it has stayed. But the animal it describes lives almost nothing like the name implies. It drifts, it gathers, it waits, very patiently, in water so poor in oxygen that most other animals cannot remain there long at all. That is where it lives. Not in spite of the low oxygen, but because of it. The zone the vampire squid calls home sits roughly between 600 and 900 meters beneath the surface in most of the world's tropical and subtropical oceans. This layer, sometimes called the oxygen minimum zone, is precisely where dissolved oxygen falls to its lowest concentration. The water here is not quite dead, but it is close to the edge of what most complex animal bodies can tolerate, and so most predators stay away. The vampire squid, having spent an enormous stretch of evolutionary time becoming very good at living with almost nothing, has this dim and difficult place largely to itself. That is a kind of freedom that comes only through adaptation. The price of the territory is the willingness to live in it. Its body is not quite what it first appears to be. The vampire squid is classified in its own separate order, Vampiromorphida, which places it apart from both true squids and true octopuses. It is something older, something that branched away from both of those lineages long ago and then continued slowly in its own direction. Its arms number 8, as in an octopus, but between them runs a thin membrane of webbing that joins arm to arm like a dark cape. When the animal pulls its arms upward and inward, the webbing closes around it. The whole body becomes a soft, closed sphere, something that looks more like a deep-sea lantern than a cephalopod. 2 small fins extend from the mantle near the top of the body. They beat slowly, almost lazily, moving the animal through the water with a quality that can only be called drifting. Not swimming in any urgent sense, not darting or pulsing the way a squid might when it is alarmed. Just a slow, continuous, low-cost movement through the dark. That low cost is essential. In a place with so little oxygen, an animal cannot afford to spend energy the way a faster creature might. Every fin beat, every arm movement, every adjustment of position, all of it must be managed carefully, the way a person lost in a cold place manages warmth. The vampire squid has evolved a metabolism calibrated for this. Its muscles are built for endurance rather than speed. Its blood carries oxygen with unusual efficiency. Even its fins, rather than the jet propulsion many cephalopods use in bursts, offer something more sustainable, a quiet, continuous glide that costs almost nothing and keeps the animal exactly where it needs to be. Endurance and efficiency are a form of intelligence, even without a plan behind them. The body learns what the environment asks of it, and then it becomes exactly that. The vampire squid is red, or rather, it is a deep reddish-brown that reads, in the dim scatter of any ambient light, as something very close to black. Its large eyes, the largest relative to body size of any animal on Earth, are also red in certain light, though they can appear blue depending on how they catch whatever faint illumination exists. Those eyes are extraordinary. Each one is roughly the size of a wolf's eye, in a body that might be only 30 centimeters long. An animal barely larger than a human forearm, carrying eyes built for a scale much larger than itself. They gather light with tremendous efficiency. They can detect the faintest bioluminescent flicker from some distance away in water that contains almost nothing else to see. But the red coloration is worth sitting with for a moment. We have talked in earlier sections about how red light disappears first as depth increases, how the longer wavelengths are absorbed by water long before they reach the places where these animals live. The dragonfish carries its own red searchlight precisely because that color offers secrecy in a world that cannot perceive it. The vampire squid is not producing red light. It is simply wearing red. And in a place where red reads as black, the animal becomes nearly invisible even in what little ambient light exists. It is not camouflage in the way we usually think of it. It is not pattern or texture matching a background. It is simply the color of absence worn as a body. The animal does not need to hide. It already is hidden by the physics of water and wavelength and depth. Along the mantle and arms, the vampire squid carries photophores, small light-producing organs distributed across its body in a pattern that includes two larger structures near the base of the fins. These larger photophores can produce a sustained, controlled glow. The smaller ones are distributed more broadly, capable of creating a shimmer across the body's surface that can intensify or fade depending on what the animal needs in a given moment. The vampire squid can also produce something rarer, bioluminescent mucus. When disturbed, it can release a cloud of glowing material from the tips of its arms, a slow-spreading luminescence that hangs in the water after the animal has moved away. This is not ink, which squids and octopuses use to obscure themselves in a dark cloud. This is the opposite. This is light left behind, a distraction made of glow rather than shadow. Think about what that means for a moment. Most defensive strategies in the ocean involve concealment, darkness, camouflage, speed, retreat. The vampire squid offers a pursuer something luminous to look at while it disappears into the very darkness it is already nearly indistinguishable from. It leaves light in the water the way a magician leaves motion in one hand while the other hand does the actual work. In a world that is almost entirely dark, the most startling thing you can release is brightness. The vampire squid has understood this in whatever wordless way animals understand the solutions their bodies have arrived at. But the most remarkable thing about the vampire squid, the detail that shifts the whole picture of what this animal is how it feeds. It does not hunt, not in any conventional sense. It does not pursue prey. It does not use its arms to capture fast-moving animals. It does not need to, and in the oxygen minimum zone, the energy cost of active hunting would likely outweigh the return. Instead, the vampire squid feeds on what the deep sea calls marine snow. Marine snow is the slow, continuous fall of organic material from the surface waters above. Dead phytoplankton, fecal pellets, the shed mucus of other animals, tiny fragments of things that once lived higher in the water column, now drifting downward under the faint pull of gravity, taking days or weeks to settle through the layers. It is not glamorous material, but it is constant. It falls without stopping in every part of every ocean, all the time. The vampire squid has 2 long, retractable filaments, not tentacles in the traditional sense, but thin structures that extend far beyond the reach of the arms. The animal extends these filaments into the water column and draws them slowly back through the water, collecting marine snow on the fine hairs that cover them. Then it gathers what is collected, rolls it into a compact pellet using mucus produced in the mouth, and consumes it. It is, in every sense, a gentle way to eat. Unhurried, uncompetitive. The food arrives on its own from above, carried by gravity and time. The vampire squid simply intercepts it. Among cephalopods, a group that includes some of the ocean's more active and clever predators, this is unusual enough to be almost startling. The octopus solves problems. The squid pursues. The cuttlefish watches and strikes with precision. The vampire squid drifts, extends its filaments, and waits for the slow rain from above to offer what it needs. There is something in that which feels less like a feeding strategy and more like a philosophy. Though the animal has no philosophy, it only has a body perfectly shaped by time to live within the terms of its environment. And its environment has asked it, very quietly, to slow down, to need less, to find abundance in what simply falls. Imagine the vampire squid in a moment of stillness. It is perhaps 700 meters down, suspended in water that is very cold, very dim, and very thin in oxygen. Its fins beat slowly, keeping it in place with minimal effort. Its arms hang loosely below it, the dark webbing relaxed, the cape open and trailing. One of its long filaments extends into the water ahead of it, drifting in a barely perceptible current, collecting what passes by. There is almost nothing else here. The oxygen minimum zone discourages neighbors. There are no large predators moving through this water with any frequency. There is no competition for the marine snow because almost nothing else has found a way to survive here long enough to gather it. The vampire squid's red eyes are open. They are always open. The animal has no eyelids. They are scanning for the faint bioluminescent pulses that might mean another animal is nearby, either something to be cautious of or simply something passing through. But nothing is passing through right now. The water is still. The marine snow drifts down through the beam of whatever faint light the photophores release, each particle catching briefly before continuing its long descent. The animal does nothing in particular. That is not a failure. That is the whole point. In a place defined by scarcity, doing nothing in particular is a form of success. Every moment spent not spending energy is a moment of survival extended. Every beat of those small fins is calibrated, efficient, and sufficient. The vampire squid does not need more than it has. It has arranged its entire existence around that fact. There is something the vampire squid's existence adds to this larger story of bioluminescence. Something that the anglerfish and the dragonfish and the hatchetfish do not quite offer in the same way. All of those animals use light as part of a strategy oriented toward other animals. The anglerfish lures. The dragonfish hunts with private illumination. The hatchetfish erases itself from below. In each case, light is a tool deployed in relation to something else. A prey item, a predator, a threat. The vampire squid's bioluminescence is different in quality. Its photophores can produce sustained, gentle glows across the body. Its larger organs near the fins can hold light steadily. When the animal is not threatened, when nothing is approaching, the glow continues anyway. A soft luminescence carried through the dark water simply as part of what the body does. It may serve purposes. Recognition among others of its kind. Some orientation function in the dark. A side effect of the biology that produces it. But in the oxygen minimum zone, where there are so few neighbors and so little urgency, the glow has a quality that is harder to assign to pure function. It is light carried through a very quiet place by an animal with no reason to hurry, in water where almost nothing else can live. That is not a sentiment the vampire squid has about itself. It has no sentiments. But the image of it, drifting, glowing softly, trailing its filaments through the slow descent of marine snow, holds something. A kind of presence in emptiness. A kind of radiance in a place that most animals have decided is too difficult to inhabit. The deep sea keeps offering this. Animals that have gone where others have not, and found, in the difficulty of that choice, a particular kind of peace. The vampire squid's webbing deserves a quiet moment of its own. When the animal is resting or drifting without immediate concern, the webbing hangs open, arms trailing loosely, the whole body relaxed and wide. But when something approaches, the animal can do something striking. It pulls its arms upward, wrapping the webbing around itself until the body becomes nearly spherical, arms folded inward, the two long filaments tucked away. The outside of the webbing is studded with small soft spines, not sharp, not harmful, but textured in a way that presents a very different surface to whatever is looking. This posture is called the pineapple position by some researchers, because the spines and the closed forms suggest, faintly, that shape. It is not an aggressive display. The vampire squid has no venom, no beak large enough to cause serious harm to anything much bigger than itself. The posture is entirely defensive, a closing of the soft body into something less obviously soft. A folding inward, and then, if the threat continues, the glowing mucus, released from the arm tips, hanging in the water, luminous, drifting, slowly fading. The animal, meanwhile, has already gone, its red body indistinguishable from the dark water around it, its fins making their quiet, efficient adjustments, carrying it away from whatever the glow is still attracting. It is a creature that responds to pressure by becoming more still, more closed, more quiet, by offering light to the dark and then retreating into that same dark seamlessly. There is something in that response that feels familiar, though it is hard to say exactly why. The vampire squid may live for several years, a long time for a cephalopod. Most squids and octopuses live fast and die young, their energy spent in the urgency of growth, reproduction, and active predation. The vampire squid, having slowed everything down, extended its life accordingly. It reproduces slowly. It grows slowly. It accumulates time in a place where time moves differently than it does at the surface. In the oxygen minimum zone, where so little changes and so little passes through, there is no pressure to hurry. The marine snow falls at the same rate it always has. The cold water holds steady. The photophores glow at whatever level the body maintains them. The filaments extend and retract. The fins beat their slow, continuous beat. This is a life measured not in urgency, but in duration. Not in what is seized, but in what is gathered, slowly, from what the world offers on its own terms. The name vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, translates, roughly, as the vampire squid from hell. It is one of the more dramatic names in the scientific catalogue. And the animal, drifting through its dim and oxygen-poor water, trailing its filaments through the quiet fall of marine snow, glowing softly in the dark, seems entirely unbothered by it. Names are given by the namers. The animal simply continues. It continues in the oxygen minimum zone, in every tropical and subtropical ocean on Earth. It continues in water that most animals pass through quickly on their way to somewhere more hospitable. It continues in a depth where light from the surface is gone, where the pressure is immense, where the cold is constant and the oxygen is thin. It continues because it has become exactly what this place requires, not despite the difficulty, but through it and inside it and as part of it. There are animals in this video that shine to attract, animals that shine to hide, animals that shine to warn or to communicate or to trick. The vampire squid shines and drifts and gathers what falls, and occasionally folds itself closed when something approaches and releases a small cloud of light into the dark as it moves away. It does not need the light to be spectacular. It does not need to be noticed. It only needs to continue, slowly, efficiently, with almost nothing wasted. In a world full of light used as strategy, the vampire squid offers something a little different. Light, a simple presence. Glow as a quiet fact of the body, carried through a dim and patient world by an animal that has learned to need very little and find it reliably in the slow descent of things from above. The deep sea has many ways of being alive. The vampire squid has found one of the gentler ones. Let that settle for a moment. The name and the animal behind it. The drama of the name and the stillness of the life. How those two things exist together without contradiction, because the animal never knew what it was called and never needed to. It only knew the cold water and the slow fins and the filaments extended into the dark and the soft glow it carries through a place where almost nothing else remains for long. That is enough. In the oxygen minimum zone, that is more than enough. Somewhere, in water that is cold and dim and very still, the vampire squid is drifting. Its cape hangs open in the current. Its eyes, enormous and patient, hold the dark. The marine snow falls around it like something very slow and very old, and the animal gathers what it needs, and the glow continues, soft and unannounced, in the deep red silence of a world that has no use for urgency. It continues, quietly, in the dark. Elsewhere, light does not hide a body or guide a hunt. It ripples outward as a message. There is a jellyfish in the deep mid-water that, when touched by something it cannot escape, does something unusual. It does not flee. It cannot flee very quickly. It is a jellyfish, built for drifting and gentle pulsing, not for speed. It does not sting with any great force. It is soft and largely transparent, a few inches across, trailing long tentacles behind it through the dark. What it does instead is this: it begins to glow, not all at once, in a widening ring. A wheel of blue light that starts at the center of its bell and moves outward in pulses, circle after circle, spinning slowly as it expands, like a signal sent across still water, like something calling out. This is the Atolla jellyfish. And that ring of light is one of the most quietly remarkable things in the deep ocean. Begin with the body, because the body is worth understanding before the light. The Atolla is a medusa, the bell and tentacle form of jellyfish, the shape that most people picture when they think of the word. Its bell is reddish-brown, darkened by pigment that, in the dim blue world of the midwater, makes it nearly invisible. Red, as the dragonfish section touched on, absorbs blue light rather than reflecting it. A red body in blue-filtered water is close to no body at all. The Atolla wears its color like a quiet disappearance. The bell is not perfectly round. It has a slight crown, a gentle dome, and around its outer edge run a series of small notches, scalloped margins that give the whole structure a soft, deliberate geometry. It looks, in photographs, a little like a cathedral window, or a gear, or a flower that has forgotten to be a flower and becomes something older instead. There is something in its form that feels designed, though of course it was not designed by anything. It arrived at this shape through a much slower process, through pressure and time and the particular demands of living in open water with no surface to rest on and no bottom to settle toward. The tentacles trail behind it, and there are many of them, sometimes more than 40, extending outward and back into the dark like long, patient threads. One tentacle is longer than the rest, much longer. It can reach several times the length of the bell itself. This one tentacle is called the hypertrophied tentacle, which is a scientific way of saying the one that grew beyond what you would expect. Its function is not entirely understood. It may help with feeding, trailing through the water to encounter prey. It may serve some other purpose that has not yet been fully characterized. In the deep sea, many things are still in that category, observed, named, and not yet fully understood. The Atolla keeps its secrets in the way that most deep animals do, by living somewhere that is very hard to visit. Movement, for the Atolla, is a kind of breathing. It pulses. The bell contracts and relaxes, and each contraction pushes a small volume of water backward, nudging the animal forward. It is not fast. It is not meant to be fast. Speed in the deep ocean costs energy, and energy in the deep ocean is precious in a way that is difficult to fully appreciate from the surface world, where food is relatively abundant and the water is warm enough to support high metabolic rates. Down in the midwater, in the zones where the Atolla lives, somewhere between a few hundred and a few thousand meters below the surface, the water is cold, the pressure is significant, and food arrives irregularly and in small amounts. An animal that burned energy quickly would be an animal constantly on the edge of starvation. So the Atolla pulses slowly. It moves with the currents as much as against them. It occupies a particular depth range and stays within it, neither sinking into the abyss nor rising into the brighter, warmer, more dangerous water above. It is, in the way of many deep animals, a specialist in patience. What it eats is not entirely certain. Small crustaceans, likely, and other soft-bodied organisms that wander into the reach of its tentacles. It is a predator in the way that a patient thing can be a predator, by being present, by being still enough, by letting the water bring what it brings. Now the light. The Atolla's bioluminescence is produced by photocytes, light-producing cells distributed throughout the bell tissue. The chemistry is the same fundamental reaction that underlies most bioluminescence. A molecule called luciferin oxidizes in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase, and the energy released comes out not as heat but as light. Cold light. Blue light. The same blue that travels farthest in seawater, the same blue that the deep ocean has, in a sense, selected for across millions of years of evolution in hundreds of unrelated lineages. But what makes the Atolla's display unusual is not the color or the chemistry. It is the pattern. When the Atolla is disturbed, grabbed, pressed, touched by something it cannot identify, the light does not simply switch on. It begins at the center of the bell and moves outward in concentric rings, one after another, each circle expanding toward the outer edge before fading, while the next ring begins its own journey from the center. The effect, in the complete darkness of the deep mid-water, is a spinning wheel of blue light. A slow, widening pulse. A pattern that repeats itself several times before fading. Researchers who have studied this display in the lab describe it as one of the most visually striking things they have seen in deep-sea biology. That is not a small statement, given everything the deep sea contains. There is something about a circle of light expanding in darkness that speaks to something very old in the visual system. Something that says, "Look here, something is happening here." And that, it turns out, may be almost exactly the point. The display is called an alarm display, or sometimes a burglar alarm display. And the name is useful because it captures something counterintuitive about the strategy. Most animals, when threatened, try to become less visible. They flee, they hide, they go dark, go still, go small. The anglerfish, back at the beginning of this journey through the lantern world, uses light to draw attention, but toward a lure, not toward itself. The hatchetfish uses light to erase itself. The vampire squid releases a cloud of glowing mucus as a distraction, a bright, false presence that pulls attention away from the real body. The Atolla does something different. It makes itself brighter. It makes itself more visible, more conspicuous, more impossible to ignore. It turns on a wheel of blue fire in the darkest part of the ocean and lets it spin. Why would a soft, slow, largely defenseless animal do this? The answer, or the most compelling hypothesis, because the deep sea rarely gives simple answers, is that the Atolla is not signaling to its attacker. It is signaling past its attacker. It is calling for help from something larger. Think about what the deep ocean looks like from the perspective of a predator hunting in the mid-water. There is almost nothing to see. Occasionally, a faint bioluminescent flash from a disrupted animal. Occasionally, the ghostly outline of something moving against the faint residual light filtering down from above. It is a world of very sparse visual information. A predator in that world has to pay attention to every signal because signals are rare and food is rarer. Now imagine that same predator sees, from some distance, a spinning wheel of blue light, bright, rhythmic, patterned. Something is happening there. Something has been disturbed. And if something has been disturbed, there may be a predator there already. A predator that has caught something, or is in the process of catching something. And where there is a predator catching something, there may be an opportunity for a larger predator to take that something away. This is the logic of the burglar alarm strategy. The Atolla, when grabbed, essentially advertises the location of whatever is grabbing it. It draws the attention of larger animals to the exact spot where a smaller predator is currently occupied. The smaller predator, suddenly aware of being noticed, may release the Atolla to avoid becoming prey itself. The Atolla, freed, drifts on. It is a strategy built entirely on the structure of the ecosystem. It works because the deep ocean is a place of layered predation, where animals are always watching for evidence of other animals, and where a flash of light in the darkness is information that cannot be ignored. The Atolla turns its own vulnerability into a communication device. It turns the moment of being caught into a message, and the message travels outward in rings. There is something worth sitting with in that for a moment. The Atolla does not have a brain in any sense that would be familiar. It has a nerve net, a diffuse web of neurons distributed through its bell tissue, capable of coordinating the pulsing of muscles, of sensing pressure and chemical gradients, of triggering the light display in response to physical disturbance. It does not plan. It does not make decisions in the way that word is usually meant. The alarm display is a reflex, in the same way that a hand pulling back from a flame is a reflex. The light happens because the touch happened. The strategy is encoded not in thought, but in structure. And yet the strategy is sophisticated. It requires a particular kind of world to work in, a world of layered predators, of scarce information, of light as signal. The Atolla did not reason its way to the burglar alarm. Evolution reasoned it there, across an immense span of time, selecting for individuals whose light displays happened to draw the right kind of attention at the right moment. What looks like cleverness is actually something deeper. A body so well fitted to its environment that the environment itself becomes a tool. That is what the wonder pivot is here. Not that the jellyfish is smart, but that the ocean is so coherent, so internally structured that even a reflex can be strategic, that a ring of light can contain, encoded in its geometry, an understanding of how predators behave and what they notice and what they fear. The Atolla has been found in oceans all over the world. It is not rare. It lives in the mid-water across temperate and tropical seas, in the deep zones that stretch between the sunlit surface and the true abyss. Because it is soft-bodied, it leaves almost no fossil record. Jellyfish rarely do, their tissues dissolving long before any impression can be preserved in sediment. But the lineage of Medusa is ancient, reaching back hundreds of millions of years to a time before fish, before vertebrates, before anything with a backbone had yet appeared in the sea. The Atolla is a recent iteration of a very old design. The bell, the tentacles, the nerve net, the pulse. These things have been working for a very long time. What has changed over that long time is refinement. The particular pattern of the Atolla's light display, the distribution of its photosites, the precise timing of the rings. These are not ancient features. They evolved in response to the particular ecosystem of the deep mid-water, to the particular predators and dynamics of that zone. The deep ocean is old, but it is not static. It has its own history of change, its own record of species appearing and vanishing and being replaced by others. The Atolla found its niche within that history and has stayed there, pulsing and drifting, and occasionally sending its wheel of light outward into the dark. There is a practical detail worth knowing, because it connects the Atolla to something beyond itself. Researchers studying deep-sea bioluminescence have developed a device called a bioluminescence bathyphotometer, a long name for an instrument that can measure light produced by organisms as it is lowered through the water column. One of the things this instrument does is record the signatures of different animals' displays, their brightness, their duration, their pattern. The Atolla's alarm display is distinctive enough that researchers can sometimes identify it from instrument recordings alone without ever seeing the animal. But more than that, because the Atolla's display is so reliably triggered by physical disturbance, researchers have used it as a kind of index. Where the Atolla is common, and where disturbance events are common, you see more alarm displays in the record. This turns the jellyfish into an inadvertent sensor of its own ecosystem. Its light becomes data. Its alarm becomes a window into the activity of the water column around it. There is something quietly moving about this. An animal that cannot think, that pulses and drifts and occasionally glows in self-defense, becomes a source of information about the larger world it inhabits. Its body keeps a kind of record, not in tissue or memory, but in light. Each ring it sends outward is a response to something that happened. Each display is, in a very small way, a report. Now let the behavior settle into something more specific, something felt rather than described. Imagine the Atolla at rest, if rest is the right word for an animal that never fully stops pulsing. It hangs in the mid-water, 300 or 400 meters below the surface, in water that is perhaps 4 degrees Celsius and very dark. Not completely dark. There are other animals nearby, other small bioluminescent flashes in the distance, the faint residual glow of a dinoflagellate disturbed by a passing copepod, but nearly dark. The Atolla's bell contracts slowly, once, twice. Its long tentacle trails behind it. Something brushes against it. A small crustacean, perhaps, or the mouth of a fish that has been hunting in the dim. The contact is brief but definite, and then the light begins. It starts at the center of the bell, a point of blue, and moves outward in a ring. Then another ring, a little behind the first. Then another. The rings travel to the edge of the bell and fade, and already new ones are forming at the center, so that the whole display has the quality of water disturbed by a stone, concentric, expanding, patient. It lasts perhaps 10 seconds, perhaps 15. Then it fades. In that time, the light has traveled outward through the water in all directions. Not the physical light which dims quickly, but the information the light carries. Something is here. Something is being disturbed. And somewhere in the water around it, something else may have noticed. Whether anything responds is uncertain. Whether the Atolla is released or not depends on what has hold of it and how hungry that thing is, and whether the risk of being noticed is greater than the reward of the meal. Sometimes the strategy works. Sometimes it does not. The ocean does not guarantee outcomes. It only offers possibilities shaped by millions of years of trial and consequence. The Atolla is not the only animal that uses what researchers call a burglar alarm strategy. There are other soft-bodied deep-sea creatures, certain comb jellies, certain worms, that produce light displays when disturbed, displays that may function similarly to draw attention to a predator rather than away from it. The strategy appears to have evolved independently in several different lineages. This is one of evolution's recurring patterns. When an environment creates the same pressures and when the same solution is available, that solution tends to appear. The deep midwater creates a specific pressure. Soft bodies, slow movement, abundant predators, a visual landscape made almost entirely of darkness and light. Into that pressure, the alarm display fits like a key. That convergence is worth noticing, not because it is surprising in itself, but because of what it implies about the deep ocean as a place. It is an environment so consistent in its demands, so stable in its fundamental structure, that completely unrelated animals have arrived at the same answer. The darkness is the same everywhere in the midwater. The predators are shaped by the same scarcity. The light travels the same distance and carries the same information. And so the strategy recurs, encoded in different bodies, expressed through different tissues, but arriving at the same basic geometry. A flash, a signal, a call into the dark that says, "Here, something is happening here. Come and look." The Atolla's light is blue, as nearly all deep bioluminescence is blue. But within that blue, there is variation. The precise peak wavelength of the Atolla's emission is around 456 nanometers, which sits at the violet edge of blue, cooler, and slightly deeper in color than some other species displays. Whether this matters ecologically is not certain. Whether the animals that notice the Atolla's alarm are sensitive to this particular shade is not known. But the specificity is interesting. Even within the narrow palette of deep-sea bioluminescence, there are differences, distinctions, individual signatures. The ocean writes in a limited vocabulary and still finds ways to say different things. By now, in this long night of glowing things, a pattern has emerged that the Atolla completes rather than introduces. Light in the deep ocean is not one thing. It has been used as a lure, as camouflage, as a private wavelength, as erasure, as a distraction thrown into the water to buy time. Each animal in this lantern world found a different use for the same chemistry, the same blue photons, the same fundamental reaction between luciferin and oxygen. The anglerfish held its light out in front of it like a thought extended into darkness. The lanternfish carried its light along its body like a map of itself, matching the faint sky above. The dragonfish kept a color no one else could read. The hatchetfish used light to become less visible than shadow. The vampire squid released it like something offered and then withdrawn. And now the Atolla sends it outward in rings. Not to hide, not to hunt, not to recognize or be recognized, but to communicate, to reach past the moment of danger and into the larger structure of the world around it, where other animals are watching, and where a spinning wheel of light in the darkness means something that every predator in the water column has learned across deep time to pay attention to. That is the wonder here. That a soft, drifting bell with no brain and no intention can participate in the information economy of an entire ecosystem. That its reflex is also a language. That the rings it sends outward are received as meaning by animals it will never see. Communication does not require understanding. It only requires that a signal carry consequence. And in the deep ocean, a wheel of blue light carries consequence. It moves through the water and changes what happens next. It alters the behavior of animals it never touches. It is received and interpreted and acted upon. That is enough for a message. That is enough for a language. The Atolla drifts on after its display fades. Its bell contracts, relaxes, contracts. Its long tentacle follows behind it. The water is cold and dark and very still in the way that deep water is still. Not without motion, but without urgency. Small currents carry it slightly to the left. A thermal gradient nudges it toward a particular depth. It pulses. Somewhere above it, The surface of the ocean is doing whatever it does at this hour, reflecting moonlight or cloud cover, moving in swells or small chop. The Atolla does not know about any of that. It has never been to the surface. It has never experienced sunlight. Its entire existence is contained in a narrow band of cold, pressurized, nearly lightless water, and within that band it finds everything it needs: prey, depth, darkness, and the occasional predator that becomes, briefly, the occasion for a ring of blue fire sent outward into the world. It is a small life in the way that all lives are small measured against the ocean. And it is a complete one. Let your breathing be easy now. There is no effort required. The Atolla pulses in the dark, and the rings expand, and the water holds them for a moment. And then they are gone. Somewhere else in that same water, other lights are waiting to begin. Light can also become disguise so precise that even a shark can wear it softly. Not a large shark, not a shark that announces itself through size or speed, or the kind of presence that displaces water dramatically. The cookiecutter shark is small, roughly the length of a human forearm, sometimes a little longer, shaped like a cigar that has been carefully considered. It lives in the open ocean, in the wide mid-water layers between the surface and the deep, and it moves through those layers mostly at night, rising from several hundred meters down toward the warmer, busier water above, when darkness makes the journey safer. During the day, it descends again. It does this consistently, reliably, in a rhythm that mirrors the light it is trying to avoid and the light it is trying to use. That rhythm is familiar by now. The lanternfish make the same journey in their billions. The hatchetfish rise and sink on similar schedules. The midwater column at night is not empty. It is a slow upward procession of animals following the dark, and the cookiecutter shark moves among them, small and unhurried in that same vast vertical tide. What makes the cookiecutter remarkable is not its size and not its movement. It is what it carries on its underside and what it does with that. The belly of a cookiecutter shark glows. Along its ventral surface, the underside, the part facing downward into the deep, there are photophores, many of them. They produce a soft greenish-blue light, the kind that travels well through seawater, the kind that in earlier hours of this night we traced back to chemistry and evolution and the strange economy of a world without sun. The light is not dramatic. It does not pulse or wheel or trail in luminous threads the way the Atolla's alarm does. It simply exists, distributed quietly across the underside of a small shark, moving through open water, steady and dim and continuous. And that steadiness matters, because what the cookiecutter is doing with that light is not signaling. It is not luring the way the anglerfish lures. It is not recognizing its schoolmates the way the lanternfish may use its photophores. It is not even erasing itself in quite the same way the hatchetfish erases its silhouette. It is doing something more specific, something stranger. To understand it, you have to look up. In the midwater column, the most dangerous direction is often below. A predator hunting from beneath must look upward to find its prey, and when it does, it sees the faint residual light filtering down from the surface. The last, most diluted edge of sunlight or moonlight, already blue by the time it reaches any depth at all. Against that faint backlight, a solid body becomes visible, a silhouette, a shape with edges. The hatchetfish, as you may remember, counters this with counter-illumination, producing light from below to match the brightness above, softening its own outline until it becomes nearly invisible. A body that reads to predators as something close to nothing. The cookiecutter shark does something related. The photophores along its belly help soften its silhouette from below, blending its outline into the faint light above it. A shark-shaped shadow becomes less shark-shaped. The edges blur. The body becomes harder to resolve against the dim and shifting background of filtered light. That much is elegant. But the cookiecutter does not stop there. Just below the head, near the throat, there is a band of darker tissue. A collar, a patch of skin that does not glow at all while the rest of the underside does. This collar is small. It would be easy to overlook if you were not looking for it. But it is not incidental. It is, as far as researchers can determine, the most important part of the whole arrangement. Here is what it seems to do. When a larger animal looks upward from below, a tuna, a dolphin, a larger shark, and scans the faint brightness overhead for shapes, the cookiecutter's glowing belly mostly disappears into the background, as designed. But that small dark collar remains visible. It does not vanish. It stays, a dim and modest shape against the light. And that shape in the open ocean reads as something familiar, something small, something that belongs. The leading hypothesis is that the collar mimics the silhouette of a small fish, a prey item, something worth investigating rather than avoiding. The cookiecutter, in other words, uses its own glow to erase itself, and then uses a single dark patch to advertise something it is not. It is a deception built from light and the absence of light together. The glowing parts vanish into the background. The dark part persists, just visible enough, just small enough to look like something a large animal might want to approach. And when a large animal approaches, curious perhaps, or simply following instinct, the cookiecutter does what its name suggests and takes a small, precise circular bite before the larger animal fully understands what has happened. The bites are distinctive, perfectly round, scooped out of flesh in a way that has puzzled fishermen and biologists for decades, appearing on dolphins, whales, large sharks, tuna, even submarines and undersea cables, which the shark investigates with the same exploratory commitment it brings to everything else. When the bites were first catalogued, no one was quite sure what was making them. The animal responsible turned out to be this: a small, glowing, patient shark with a dark collar and a very specific idea about how to use the light around it. That is the wonder here. Not the bite itself, but the logic that precedes it. An animal so small that it cannot overpower what it feeds on, so it does not try. Instead, it arranges itself in the water in a way that makes the encounter happen on its own terms. It becomes, for a moment, an illusion, a false signal in a world already full of signals. And the illusion is made not from color or speed or size, but from the careful management of what glows and what does not. The cookiecutter shark belongs to the order Squaliformes, a broad group of sharks that includes many deep-sea species, most of them small, most of them less known than their larger relatives. The cookiecutter's scientific name is Icystius brasiliensis. The genus name, Icystius, was drawn from the Egyptian goddess Isis, perhaps for the luminous appearance, though the connection is left mostly to interpretation. The common name, cookiecutter, came later, and it is almost perfectly descriptive in the way that the best common names are. Not poetic, but exactly right. The shark is found in tropical and subtropical oceans around the world, primarily in deep water during the day and shallower water at night. It has been recorded at depths of over 3,000 meters, though it does not spend all its time there. It is a creature of the mid-water, not committed to the surface, not committed to the bottom, but inhabiting the vast and poorly understood space between, where pressure and darkness and the slow drift of marine snow define the world. Its eyes are large, as deep-sea eyes often are, gathering whatever light remains. Its teeth are unusual. The lower jaw holds a single row of large, interlocking, blade-like teeth that work together as a unit, while the upper jaw has smaller, more numerous teeth. The lower jaw can be pressed against a surface and rotated slightly, cutting a neat plug of tissue with a kind of mechanical precision that is dispassionate and efficient. The shark then swallows the plug and moves on. It is not a violent encounter in the way that large predators and their prey can seem violent. It is closer to something surgical, calm, almost. The large animal is surprised, then recovers. The cookiecutter retreats into the dark with what it came for. Both animals continue. What the cookiecutter feeds on is, in a sense, borrowed abundance. The animals it samples, large pelagic fish, marine mammals, larger sharks, are all animals that have access to resources the cookiecutter cannot reach on its own. They are faster, larger, better equipped for sustained pursuit. The cookiecutter does not need to be any of those things. It needs only to be present, patient, and arranged correctly in the water. The glow and the dark collar do the rest. There is something in that which connects quietly to what we have already heard tonight. The anglerfish extends a lure into the dark and waits. The dragonfish carries a chin barbel that glows like an invitation. The cookiecutter does something different. It does not lure prey toward itself, but arranges itself to be approached by animals that are, in a sense, much larger than a prey item should ever be. It inverts the usual logic of predation. The smaller animal benefits from the curiosity of the larger one. The encounter happens because the large animal came closer, not because the small one gave chase. In the deep sea and in the mid-water above it, size is not always the organizing principle. Light is. Arrangement is. The ability to be misread at exactly the right moment by exactly the right kind of attention. Imagine floating in open water, several hundred meters down, looking upward into a faint and directionless blue. There is no floor beneath you. There is no reef, no rock, no structure of any kind. There is only water in every direction, growing slightly lighter above and slightly darker below. And somewhere in that blue, moving slowly, there is a small shark you cannot see, because most of it has dissolved into the background. Only a small dark shape remains, hovering at the edge of your perception, like something you are not quite sure you saw. That is the cookiecutter's world, and the cookiecutter's advantage. The open ocean is vast and featureless in a way that makes every visible thing significant. A shape in open water means something. The cookiecutter has learned over millions of years of slow refinement to control exactly which shape it presents. Researchers studying bioluminescence in sharks have noted that the cookiecutter's photophores produce light at an intensity that closely matches the downwelling light at its preferred hunting depths. This is not coincidence. It is calibration. The glow is tuned to the environment it operates in, the way an instrument might be tuned to the acoustics of a particular room. Too bright, and the shark becomes visible against the background it is trying to join. Too dim, and the counter-illumination fails, and the silhouette reasserts itself. The match has to be close. What makes this calibration possible is not something the shark consciously manages. It is biological, built into the photophores, into the nervous system, into the long history of this animal's survival. But the precision is still striking. It is easy to think of bioluminescence as simply a feature, like a color or a shape. The cookie cutter reminds us that it is also a relationship, a negotiation between the animal's light and the light of the world around it, conducted quietly and continuously in the dark. That is why its light does not pulse or flash. Pulsing would draw attention. Flashing would create contrast. The cookie cutter needs neither. It needs only steadiness, a consistent, soft glow that meets the ambient light exactly where it needs to be met and holds there. There is a gentleness to this that is easy to miss. The cookie cutter is often described in terms of what it takes: the plugs of flesh, the surprised large animals, the circular scars. And those things are real. But beneath that description is an animal that has found a way to survive in open ocean with almost no structural advantages. It is small. It cannot outrun most of what it feeds on. It has no camouflage in the conventional sense, no color-changing skin, no ability to press itself against a substrate and disappear. It has only the light it makes, and the dark patch it chose not to illuminate, and the patience to move through the water in a way that lets those two things do their work. That is a kind of economy that the deep sea rewards. Not extravagance, but precision. Not force, but arrangement. The cookie cutter has been refining this arrangement for a very long time. The genus is estimated to have diverged from its relatives tens of millions of years ago, and the photophores it carries suggest a long investment in this particular strategy. The light it makes is not new. It is ancient, and it is still working. By now, the listener has spent a long night with light. With the anglerfish's bacterial lantern suspended in dark water, like a thought extended outward. With the lanternfish's millions of bodies rising and sinking in their vast nightly procession. With the dragonfish's private red carried through a world that cannot see it. With the hatchetfish's careful erasure. With the vampire squid's slow luminous drift. With the Atolla's wheel of alarm widening in the dark. Each of those animals uses light differently. Each one has arrived at a different answer to the same deep question. In a world where visibility is rare and costly, what do you do with the ability to be seen? The cookie cutter's answer is the quietest one yet. It does not lure, does not signal, it does not alarm or erase entirely or communicate with its own kind through patterns of recognition. It simply arranges itself so that what is visible of it is not quite what it is. The glow hides the body. The dark patch offers a different story. And in the wide, dim, structureless water of the open ocean, that story is enough. The shark moves slowly. Most of its time is spent in a kind of patient suspension, drifting with slight adjustments, conserving energy, waiting for the encounter that the arrangement will eventually produce. It does not hurry. There is very little in the mid-water that rewards hurrying, and the cookie cutter has not evolved for speed. It has evolved for waiting, and for being in the right place, oriented correctly, lit correctly, when the right kind of attention arrives. There is something almost restful in that image. A small animal in very large water, glowing softly, patient in the dark. The collar sits quietly near the throat. The photophores continue their steady output. The shark drifts upwards slightly as the night deepens, following the same slow gradient that all the mid-water migrants follow, drawn by the same dim logic of darkness and the life that gathers in it. It does not know what it looks like from below. It does not know that it looks like something it is not. It only knows, in whatever way an animal knows anything, that the dark is familiar and the water is right and the night is long and full of slow movement, and that this is where it lives. The cookie cutter reminds us gently that deception in the natural world is rarely dramatic. It does not require elaborate performance or sudden revelation. It can be as quiet as a glow maintained at the right intensity and a small dark patch left unlit. Light can be a signal. Light can be camouflage. Light can be language and alarm and courtship and the patient extension of a lure into the dark. We have heard all of those tonight. But light can also be a carefully managed absence, a way of controlling what another animal sees, not by adding something vivid, but by removing the wrong things and leaving only what serves the moment. The cookie cutter has mastered a kind of negative space. It shines so that most of it disappears and withholds light so that one small part of it remains. That is a delicate art, and it is practiced quietly in the wide dark water between the surface and the deep by a small cigar-shaped shark that most people have never seen and never will, moving through its ancient and patient life in the only way it has ever known. The water around it is very still at this depth, not still in the way that surfaces can be still, glassy, reflective, holding the sky, still in the way that deep water is still, the kind of pressure held quiet, where the absence of wave and wind makes the whole column feel suspended. The shark moves through that stillness without disturbing it very much. Small adjustments, a slight angle of the pectoral fins, the tail moving in a slow, unhurried rhythm. Somewhere above it, much farther up, the surface of the ocean catches whatever light the night sky offers. Stars, perhaps, or a moon that sends a thin blue thread of illumination down through the first 100 meters before it finally exhausts itself and goes. The cookie cutter does not need that light. It makes its own. And it uses what it makes with a precision that took millions of years to arrive at and costs the shark almost nothing to maintain. Let that settle for a moment. A small animal in the dark, carrying its own light, patient in the water, arranged just so. There is nothing urgent about it. There is nothing urgent about any of this, here at this hour. The shark drifts. The glow continues. The dark collar holds its quiet shape. And the open ocean, vast and unhurried, holds them both. Near the border between reef shadow and open water, the language of light begins to blink. Not pulse, not glow in the continuous, patient way we have been watching all night. Blink, on, off, a rhythm so deliberate, so immediately legible that the first researchers who saw it in the water described it with the same word they would have used for a signal. Not a metaphor for a signal. A signal. The flashlight fish blinks, and something in the dark receives it. There are a few species that carry this common name. All of them small, all of them dark-bodied, all of them possessed of an organ beneath each eye that produces a light so steady and so bright that it seems almost domestic in the context of everything else the ocean makes. The light is not dramatic. It is not the slow wheel of the Atolla, not the private red of the dragonfish, not the ghostly lure suspended before a waiting mouth. It is simply a small, clean, blue-green point of light that turns on, and then turns off, and then turns on again. And in the darkness of a reef at night, or the dim open water just beyond it, that rhythm is one of the most quietly astonishing things a living body can do. The light itself is not made by the fish. That is the first thing worth sitting with. Like the anglerfish's lure, the flashlight fish's glow comes from bacteria. Bioluminescent bacteria that live inside the light organ in such extraordinary density that the organ becomes, in effect, a lantern made of living things. Millions of bacteria, packed into a specialized pouch of tissue beneath each eye, producing light continuously through the same cold chemical reaction we have been tracing all night. The fish does not switch them on. The bacteria are always shining. What the fish controls is whether that light escapes into the water. That is the mechanism. And the mechanism is what makes this animal strange and worth thinking about. Different species of flashlight fish have developed different solutions to the same problem of control. One group rotates the light organ downward into a pocket of dark tissue, hiding it the way you might cup a candle in both hands. When the organ rotates back up, the light reappears. Another group draws a dark shutter across the organ from below, like a lid closing over an eye. The effect from outside is identical in both cases, a blink. But the engineering behind it is not the same at all. Two separate lineages of fish arrived at the same behavioral output through entirely different anatomical routes. That is evolution doing what it does when a problem is worth solving. It solves it more than once. And the problem here is worth solving. Because light for these fish is not incidental. It is not a byproduct or a side effect of something else the body is doing. Light is the center of how this animal moves through the world, finds food, finds companions, and stays hidden from things that might otherwise find it. The bacteria shine, and the fish decides what to do with that shining. The relationship is ancient and intimate, and neither partner survives without the other. The bacteria receive shelter and nutrients inside the organ. The fish receives light it could not produce alone. This is the same arrangement we saw with the anglerfish, the same basic logic of symbiosis. But here, the scale of what the fish does with the light is different, more social, more expressive, more like something that happens between individuals rather than something that happens in solitude. Flashlight fish live in groups. That matters. In the deep ocean, much of what we have explored tonight happens alone or in loose association. A lanternfish among many lanternfish, moving in the same direction for the same reasons, but not necessarily communicating in any direct sense. The Atolla drifts alone. The vampire squid drifts alone. The anglerfish waits alone in its particular column of dark water, its lure extended into the nothing around it. Solitude is the deep sea's default condition. There is simply too much space and too little energy for sustained social complexity. But flashlight fish are not strictly deep-sea animals. That is the bridge their story offers. They are most commonly found in the shallower parts of their range at night, near coral reefs, along reef edges, in the dim water just beyond where the reef structure ends and open ocean begins. During the day, they retreat to deeper water, sometimes to caves or crevices where light cannot reach them. When darkness falls, they rise. They move back toward the reef. And when they move together in schools that blink in loose synchrony through the water, dozens of small lights turning on and off in a rhythm that is not quite uniform but is not quite random either. Imagine standing at the edge of a reef at night, in water shallow enough to see the surface above you, and watching a school of flashlight fish move past. Each fish perhaps 10 centimeters long, each one carrying a light beneath its eye that blinks several times per minute. The school moves as a soft, distributed constellation, not a steady glow, not a streak of light, but a field of intermittent blue-green points, appearing and disappearing as the fish swim and turn and adjust to one another. It is one of the few forms of marine bioluminescence that a person can watch from the surface with a snorkel and a calm sea, and it looks, in the dark water, like something between fireflies and stars. That accessibility matters, not because it makes the flashlight fish more important than the animals of the deeper sea, but because it reminds us that bioluminescence is not a phenomenon confined to the unreachable. It did not evolve only where sunlight cannot go. It evolved wherever darkness created an opportunity, wherever a living body could gain something by producing light, or hiding it, or offering it to another. The reef at night is dark enough. The caves where these fish shelter during the day are dark enough. The water column just beyond the reef edge, where the light fades quickly with depth, is dark enough. And in that relative darkness, the blink of a flashlight fish becomes meaningful in the same way that a lantern in a window becomes meaningful. It says, "Here, I am here. Come toward me, or do not, but I am here." What exactly the blink communicates is something researchers have worked to understand, and the picture that has emerged is layered in a way that feels characteristic of the deep sea's intelligence. The blink does more than one thing. For finding food, the light organ helps in a way that is almost practical in its simplicity. Zooplankton, tiny drifting animals, are attracted to light. A flashlight fish swimming slowly through the water, blinking, draws small animals toward it the way a porchlight draws moths. The fish does not have to hunt in the aggressive sense. It illuminates, and the food arrives. The light becomes a lure, not unlike the anglerfishes, but worn openly and shared among many fish, rather than extended from a single body in total isolation. For staying together as a school, the blink becomes a form of contact. Fish in schools coordinate through many senses: lateral line pressure, visual cues, subtle changes in water movement. But in darkness, vision becomes limited. A blinking light organ offers each fish a way to track its neighbors, to maintain the loose coherence of the school without physical contact. The blink says, "I am still here. I am still moving with you." The school holds its shape not through rigid formation, but through the continuous low-level exchange of these small signals, each fish reading the others and adjusting. That is a kind of language, even if it is not language in the way we usually mean the word. And for avoiding predators, the blink offers something more surprising. Flashlight fish can vary their blink rate. When a threat is near, they blink faster and change direction more abruptly, a behavior that may confuse a predator tracking the light. They can also stop blinking entirely, rotating or shuttering the organ closed, and disappear. A school of flashlight fish that suddenly goes dark in the water is a school that has, in an instant, become much harder to find, so the light is used to attract, to connect, to confuse, to vanish. This is bioluminescence doing what we have seen it do all night, in one small fish, in one reef ecosystem, in water shallow enough to touch. The pattern holds across habitats and depths and body plans because the pattern is not about any particular animal. It is about what light can mean when you are a living thing in the dark, and when other living things are also in the dark around you. There is a species called Anomalops catoptron, one of the most studied of the flashlight fish, whose name comes from a Greek word for mirror, for the reflective quality of its light organ. It lives in the Indo-Pacific, in reef systems, and in the open water just beyond them. And it has been observed in caves in the Red Sea, in concentrations that early divers found almost overwhelming. Hundreds of fish in a single cave, blinking slowly in the dark, the walls of the cave reflecting back the blue-green light in a way that made the cave appear to pulse from the inside. Hundreds of fish, each one carrying bacteria, each one blinking, each one part of a living signal that filled the cave with rhythm. What does it mean for an animal to carry its light in another living thing? We have touched on this question before with the anglerfish, but it is worth returning to here because the flashlight fish makes it feel different. The anglerfish's lure is at the end of a filament, held at a distance from the body, extended outward into the dark like an offering. It is intimate with the bacteria in a chemical sense, but the lure itself feels almost separate, a thing the anglerfish holds rather than a thing it is. The flashlight fish's light organ is right there, beneath the eye, pressed against the face. Close enough that the glow when the organ is open illuminates the fish's own features from below, the way a flashlight held under a chin changes a face in the dark. The bacteria are not separate from the fish. They are part of the fish's face, part of how the fish presents itself to the world and to its own kind. There is something in that closeness that feels worth noticing. The fish cannot see its own light. It blinks outward into the water, and what it sends is received by others. It has no way of watching itself glow. It only knows the rhythm of the rotation, the shutter, the on and the off. It knows the movement. The light itself is for the dark water and for whatever is in it. That is a kind of trust that does not require thought to be real. The blinking of a flashlight fish school is not synchronized in the precise way of fireflies in certain parts of Southeast Asia, where thousands of insects blink in exact unison, a phenomenon so coordinated it seems impossible for animals without a central conductor. The flashlight fish school is looser than that. Each fish blinks at its own rate, slightly offset from its neighbors, so the school as a whole produces not a single pulse, but a continuous shimmer, a field of staggered light, each point independent, and yet part of the larger pattern. That shimmer, seen from above or from the side, looks like moving water catching something. It looks like the surface of the sea under a sky with many stars, if the stars moved slowly and independently and were very close. It looks, in other words, like something that could easily be mistaken for something other than fish. And that may be part of what makes it useful. A school that blinks in perfect unison is easy to count. A school that shimmers unevenly is harder to pass from a distance, harder to resolve into individual targets, harder to approach with certainty. The school becomes, through its own light, slightly illegible. We have seen this logic before. The hatchetfish uses light to erase its silhouette. The cookiecutter shark arranges its glow to make itself look like something smaller, or like open water, or like nothing at all. The vampire squid releases glowing mucus into the water and leaves it there, a false presence, while it drifts away into the dark. Again and again, across entirely different bodies and entirely different depths, bioluminescence serves the same quiet purpose: to make a living thing less available to whatever is looking for it. The flashlight fish adds one more variation. It does not erase itself exactly. It multiplies itself, distributing its presence across a field of independent signals that together resist easy interpretation. It is not hiding. It is being many things at once, and in being many things at once, it becomes harder to be caught. There is a behavioral detail that researchers noted in early field observations that has stayed with me as I think about these fish. When a school of flashlight fish is feeding, moving through an area of concentrated zooplankton, the blink rate of the school increases. More frequent flashing, more light in the water, more attraction. The fish are, in effect, turning up the lantern when there is something worth illuminating. And when the feeding slows, the blink rate drops. The school dims, it settles into a quieter rhythm, less insistent, less bright. The fish are not making a decision in the way we make decisions, but the school is doing something that looks, from the outside, like modulation, like turning the light up when there is reason and down when there is not. A school of animals adjusting its collective brightness to match the demands of the moment. That is not language. But it is not nothing. It is a form of collective sensitivity to the environment, expressed through light, shared across bodies, readable to anyone in the water who knows how to read it. And the fish know. The fish are always reading it. There is one more thing about the flashlight fish that belongs here, at this late point in the night, when the listener has spent hours moving through the deep sea's various forms of light, and has perhaps begun to feel, in some dim way, what it means to live by glow rather than by sun. Flashlight fish are not the deepest living animals we have discussed tonight. They are not the most extreme. They do not live in crushing pressure or total isolation, or the oxygen minimum zones that the vampire squid has learned to endure. They are, by the standards of the deep ocean, almost accessible. And yet, they carry the same bacterial light as the anglerfish. They use that light for the same range of purposes: attraction, communication, concealment, that we have seen animals use across thousands of meters of depth. They blink at the edge of reefs that people visit, in water that sometimes reaches 30 meters or less. Bioluminescence, in other words, does not belong only to the unreachable. It is not a property of extreme depth or extreme pressure or extreme cold. It is a property of darkness. And darkness is everywhere the sun does not reach, which is most of the ocean, and the underside of most reefs, and the inside of most caves, and the open water at night, even in places where the seafloor is not far below. The flashlight fish lives where the light ends, not where it was never present. It found the boundary between day and night, and made a life there, at the edge, blinking. That edge is where its story connects to everything else we have explored. The anglerfish waits in darkness that has no edge. The lanternfish crosses the edge twice a day, rising and sinking with it. The dragonfish carries its own private wavelength through darkness. The hatchetfish erases itself at the edge between faint light and none. The Atolla calls attention to itself in darkness. The vampire squid retreats from light entirely. The cookiecutter shark moves through the dim middle distance where light is still present but barely. And the flashlight fish blinks at the place where reef meets open water, where shallow meets deep, where the familiar world of sunlit coral gives way to the other world, the one that has been the subject of this whole long night. It blinks at the threshold, and the threshold blinks back. There is something restful in that image. A small fish, dark-bodied and unhurried, carrying its bacteria carefully beneath each eye, moving through water that is neither fully lit nor fully dark, blinking, finding its companions by their blinks, drawing food toward its light, disappearing when it needs to, reappearing when it is ready. The rhythm of on and off, as steady as breathing, as natural as the tide. The blink is not urgent. It is not a cry. It is simply a pulse, a small beat in the water, one among many, part of a larger rhythm that has been going on in these reef waters for longer than the reef itself has existed in its current form. Let the rhythm settle. Let it slow, on, off, off. Each blink a little softer than the last, until the fish is simply there in the water, moving quietly through the dark, its light turned low, the school drifting together in the way that schools drift when there is no reason to hurry. The reef is behind them. The open water is ahead. The darkness is complete and ordinary, and full of the kind of quiet that has no name in the languages of the surface world. The fish blink on, and then off, and then, for a long moment, they do not blink at all. And now we stop knowing and simply become. You are small. That is the first thing. Not frightening, simply true. You are small in the way that a single note is small inside a long piece of music. Present, necessary, held inside something much larger than itself. The water is everywhere around you. Not pressing, not threatening. Just there, in all directions, a medium so complete that the idea of edges seems almost strange. There is no floor you can see, no ceiling, no wall, only the gradient. Darker below, very faintly less dark above, and you, suspended somewhere between the two. You have been here all day. Deeper than this, where the dark is total and the cold is steady, and the pressure holds everything in a kind of permanent, gentle embrace. You rested there, in the dim below, while the world above turned through its hours, while the light came and spread across the surface and fed the small drifting things that make the upper water rich, while the day did what days do. But now the light is going. You feel it before you understand it. Something shifts in the faint illumination above you, a softening, a thinning, a slow withdrawal of the pale that had been hanging at the edge of your awareness. You cannot name it. You do not need to. Your body has been reading this signal for the entirety of your life, and longer. This same shift has been read by creatures like you for longer than any word for it has existed. It is time to rise. You begin moving upward, and the rising is not urgent. It is more like a decision the body makes on its own, the way breathing is a decision the body makes. Not chosen exactly, but not absent either. You are moving, and the water is changing around you, degree by slow degree, as the pressure softens and the cold loosens its hold just slightly, and the darkness above begins to grey. You are not alone in this. You knew that already, in some ambient way. You have always known it. But now you feel it more clearly. On either side of you, and above and below at angles you can't quite track, there are others, small bodies. Familiar? They are not close enough to touch. They are close enough to sense, in the way that the water carries information about what moves through it. a faint displacement, a presence registered not as sight, but as something more immediate and less nameable. Billions of you are rising. That is a number that means nothing here, in the water, in the dark. What it means here is simply this: you are not the only one moving upward tonight. The migration is not a plan. It is a convergence. The same pull working through the same small bodies at the same hour, the way a tide is not organized by any one thing, but happens anyway, vast and reliable and indifferent to being noticed. You rise. The darkness above you is graying now, not brightening, graying. There is a difference. Brightness implies arrival. This is something subtler, the world becoming slightly less sealed. The faintest suggestion of the surface world far above filtered through hundreds of meters of water until almost nothing of it remains except the memory of a direction. Up, up is where the food is, gathering in the shallower water as the night opens. Up is where the small things drift that you will pass through with your mouth open, taking what the water offers. You do not think about this. It is simply the orientation that your body has always known, the way a root knows down. And as you rise, something along your sides begins to do what it does. Your photophores, the small lights arranged in rows along your belly and flanks, are not something you decide to use. They are simply part of what you are. The way your fins are part of what you are. The way the faint sensitivity in your lateral line is part of what you are. They glow, softly, in the blue that travels farthest through water, in the color that this world was built around. You are not performing. You are not signaling exactly, in any deliberate sense. You are simply luminous, in the quiet and functional way that this darkness requires. From below, your light does something useful. You learned this, or rather, you carry it, the way you carry everything else that keeps you alive without being taught. The light along your underside softens your silhouette against whatever faint brightness filters from above. Something looking up at you sees not a dark shape against a pale background, but something less decisive than that. Something that could be the water itself, something that does not quite resolve into a form. You are harder to see than darkness. That is the strange and quiet truth of it. In a world where light is language, where every glow carries meaning, your light is saying nothing. Your light is saying, I am not here. Not aggressively, not desperately, simply. Your presence is folded into the ambient, and the ambient does not alarm anyone. You rise through your own near invisibility, a small blue dimness among other small blue dimnesses, and the vast mid-water receives you the way it receives everything, without comment. There is something passing below you. You sense it the way you sense the others of your kind, as a movement in the water, a pressure, something large enough to displace what you feel rather than what you see. It is not close. It is not coming toward you. It moves through the dark below at an angle that has nothing to do with where you are. You do not know what it is. You do not need to. It passes. The water settles. The faint displacement fades, and what remains is the same as what was there before. The water and you, and the soft blue glow of others rising around you in the dark. The night is full of such moments, presences passing, shapes that resolve into nothing. The mid-water is not empty. It has never been empty. But most of what moves through it moves past, and most of what you share this column of water with is simply coexisting, the way all things in the deep sea coexist, by not requiring much from each other. You rise a little more. The food is here now. You don't see it. You pass through it. Small things, so small they are more like texture than presence, move through your open mouth and are gone before the word eating would even apply. This is not a meal the way a meal is a discrete event. It is more like passing through richness, like moving through a patch of the world that has more in it than the last patch did. You move through it slowly. There is no rush. The richness will be here as long as the night is here, and the night will be here for hours yet, and your body knows how to take what it needs without taking more than it needs. This is not restraint. It is simply efficiency, shaped over time into something that functions without thought. Around you, the others are doing the same thing. You feel them in the water, not as individuals, not as separate presences with separate needs, but as the texture of the school itself, the distributed awareness that is less than a mind and more than nothing. The way a flock is not one bird thinking, but is still somehow coherent. You are part of this. You have always been part of this. Every night of your life has been this. The rising, the feeding, the slow drift through the upper dark while the surface world sleeps above you and the deep world waits below. You are one note in a very old piece of music. You are playing your part without needing to know the whole of it. The night deepens, not darker. It is already dark. But there is a quality that changes in the deep hours, something that has less to do with light and more to do with time. The upper water is quieter. The small things you passed through earlier have thinned. The richness is still here, but less concentrated, and your body registers this the way it registers everything, not as information to be processed, but as a feeling that moves through you and gently adjusts what you do next. You slow. The rising is finished. You are where you will be for a while, suspended in the upper dark, drifting in the slow current that moves through this layer of the water, neither sinking nor climbing. Just here, present in the way that water is present, without effort, without agenda, without anything that needs to be resolved. Around you, the blue points of light drift with the same current. They are not blinking. They are not signaling. They are simply glowing in the patient and continuous way that your kind glows. Not urgently, not dramatically, but as a steady and unremarkable fact of being alive in this water at this hour. You are among them. You are one of them. The current takes you a little to the east or west, or some direction that has no name here, because direction in open water is less a map and more a feeling. And the feeling is simply moving, gently, without resistance. Something large is above you, far above, near the surface. You cannot see it. You sense it as a shadow against the slight residual brightness that still separates up from not up. It is moving slowly. It has lights of its own, or it doesn't. And what you sense is simply the absence of something, the way a cloud is sensed at night, not by seeing it, but by noticing where the stars are not. It passes. Everything passes in the mid-water. This is one of the things that makes this place what it is. The vast column of open water, unbroken by reef or rock or slope, where every creature is always in transit, always passing through the space that every other creature is also passing through. And the passing is the whole of it. There is no territory here. There is only the column and the current and the gradient of dark to darker and the small lights moving through all of it like a language that was never meant to be read, only lived. You drift. The current shifts. It is very slight, a degree of difference in the water's movement, a change in the temperature at the edges of what you feel. Your body registers it. Nothing in you decides anything. You simply adjust, the way you have always adjusted, the way everything in the water adjusts to what the water does. You angle slightly, you slow a little more, and you begin, without hurrying, to sink. Not falling. Sinking is different from falling. Sinking is controlled. Sinking is the body making itself slightly denser, slightly less buoyant, settling into the pull of depth the way a breath is slowly let out. You have done this every night. Every night of your life has moved toward this. The feeding finished, the upper water quieted, the body ready to return. Below you, the dark deepens. You feel it as a return to something familiar. The cold increases by degrees, not sharply, not alarmingly, but steadily. The way a room cools when a window is opened in winter, that slow and gentle arrival of a lower temperature that the body recognizes as a particular kind of place. You have been here before. You were here this morning. You were here every morning before that. This is where you rest. The descent is slow. There is no reason for it to be otherwise. The deep water is patient with you. It receives you the way it receives everything that sinks into it. Without comment, without adjustment, simply making room. The pressure increases, gently, and your body knows how to be in pressure, has always known, carries that knowledge in its tissues, the way you carry the photophores along your sides. Not as something added, but as something always already there. Around you, the blue lights of the others are sinking too. You feel them more than see them. The school, if school is even the right word for something this diffuse, this loosely held together, is descending with the same unhurried rhythm that it rose with hours ago. The migration is reversing. The great nightly movement that knitted the deep water to the surface, that carried the chemistry of the depths up into the light and brought the richness of the surface back down. That movement is completing its arc. The circle is closing. You are part of the closing. You have always been part of it, even when you were not thinking about it, even when there was no thinking at all, only the body doing what the body does in the dark with the current, and the cold, and the faint difference between up and down. The lights around you thin and space out, and some of them are already below you now, already settling into the deeper dark, and you follow without following, sink without deciding to sink, because the body knows. It is very dark here, not the grey dark of the upper water, not the dim dark of the mid-water at its richest. This is the dark that is simply dark, the dark that exists at depth when there is no light source above to suggest a direction, when the gradient flattens and the world becomes, in every direction, the same quality of not bright. And yet, along your sides, the photophores are still glowing, softly, steadily. Not for camouflage now. There is nothing above you to be camouflaged against. Not for recognition exactly, though somewhere in the water around you, others of your kind are settling too, and their lights are there, dim and quiet, the way familiar things are there in the dark. Not visible exactly, but present, felt. Your lights are simply what you are. In the dark, at depth, with no particular function to perform and no particular signal to send, you glow because you are alive, and glowing is part of being alive in the way that you are alive. It is that simple. And that simple things can be very beautiful is something that does not need to be said, but can be felt here in the dark, in the cold, with the faint blue presence of others around you, like scattered embers that do not burn. You are slowing. The descent has become barely a descent. You are settling more than sinking now. The difference between moving through water and simply finding the place in the water where you belong for these hours. The pressure is right here. The temperature is right here. Your body registers both as a kind of correctness, a fit between what you are and where you are, and that fit is the closest thing to comfort that this body knows. Your fins move less. They are still moving, small, patient adjustments that keep you oriented, keep you from drifting too far in any one direction. But the movements are minimal. The work is minimal. This is the hour for minimal things, and your body has always known this hour, has been moving toward it since the darkness began to gather and the lights above you started to soften. Around you, the others have settled too. You feel them as a presence rather than a movement. The water is still. The school, loosely, widely, diffusely, is at rest in the deep dark, suspended in the cold column, each body doing what your body is doing, very little. The migration is finished. The night is finished. The great arc has closed, and what remains is simply this: the dark and the cold, and the soft blue fact of being alive in it. Something drifts past you. It is small, slower than anything that is trying to move. A piece of the water's slow accumulation of falling things. Marine snow, the quiet precipitation of the deep, all the small and finished things that drift down from above over the course of the hours. You are not hungry now. You let it pass. It continues its descent, patient and unhurried, toward the floor that is still very far below you. The floor is not your world. Your world is this: the column, the open water, the vast and featureless middle of the ocean where up and down are the only landmarks, and the landmarks are felt rather than seen. You have never needed more than this. You were made for exactly this. For the suspension, the drift, the slow nightly arc between depth and surface, and back again. For the company of others that is not closeness but is not loneliness either. For the blue light that your body makes without being asked. You are exactly what you are in exactly the place you were made for. That is not a small thing. Your fins have nearly stopped. There is still a small motion, the body maintaining itself, the way breath maintains itself without requiring attention. But it is very small. The water holds you. The pressure holds you. The cold, which is not uncomfortable but simply the temperature of this place, surrounds you in the even and complete way that the water surrounds everything here, entirely, gently, without exception. The lights around you are very dim now, not extinguished. They are still there, the faint blue presences of your kind, scattered through the dark water in every direction. But they are still, not signaling, not adjusting. Simply present the way stars are present on a clear night, not doing anything, just there, each one a small and patient fact of the world. You are one of them. One small light in a dark that holds many small lights, each one a body at rest, each one a life that rose and fed and sank, and is now in its own way still. The ocean around you is very large. It has always been very large. And you are very small. You have always been very small. And you are here, in the cold, in the dark, glowing softly without effort or intention, because that is what you are. The water is still. Your body is still. The lights around you are still. Everything is still. After all that hidden brightness, what remains is something very quiet. You have spent this night with light that was never meant for you. Light made by cold chemistry in cold water, in places where the sun has not reached in any meaningful way since the ocean formed. No warmth in it, no urgency, just the slow conversion of one molecule into another, and then a glow. That is what all of it was. That is what the anglerfish carries suspended before it in the dark, what the lanternfish wears along its sides, what the Atolla sends outward in widening rings when something brushes too close. Chemistry arranged by time and pressure and need, until it produces something that looks almost like intention. And in a way, it is intention. Not thought, not planning, but the accumulated intention of millions of years of surviving in darkness. Each body that found a use for light passed that use forward. Each animal that could signal, or hide, or lure, or confuse, continued. And what remained is a world lit from within, where glow serves as language, as camouflage, as patience, as presence. That is the thing worth carrying into sleep. Not the names, not the mechanisms, just the sense of it. A planet with a hidden layer, vast and cold and dim, where life did not wait for light to arrive from above. It made its own. Let your body be heavy now. Not the pleasant heaviness of the lanternfish drifting in open water, though that image may still be somewhere in you. Just the ordinary heaviness of a body that has been still for a long time and is ready to stay that way. Let your jaw be soft. Let it settle. Let your hands be open or loose, or simply wherever they are without needing to be anywhere else. There is nothing required of you now. Somewhere, the dragonfish moves through water so dark that its red light travels like a private thought, seen only by the few who carry the right instruments to receive it. Somewhere, the vampire squid drifts through the oxygen minimum zone, patient and unhurried, gathering what the water offers. Somewhere, a small flashlight fish blinks in the dark near a reef edge, and another blinks back, and the exchange means something neither of them could name. All of it continues. The deep sea does not sleep the way you are about to sleep. It simply goes on. Its own rhythms, its own dim conversations, its own slow economies of light and dark and pressure and cold. You do not need to hold any of it. It will hold itself. Your eyes are already heavy. Let them stay that way. The body knows what comes next. It has been moving toward this the whole night, gradually, the way the lanternfish descends at first light. Not rushing, not resisting, just settling into the depth where the temperature is right and the pressure is steady and there is nothing more to do. The glow of all those animals is still out there, still happening. Chemistry becoming light in cold water for no reason you will ever be required to understand. It is enough to know it exists. Sleep well and good night.